Mehdi Hasan, who I find to be an annoyingly progressive political commentator, took on a bunch of far-right psychopaths, and the memes and clips from it are absolutely wild. So I want to go ahead and get into the content. We will be breaking it down intermittently. Let's go ahead and bring on Mehdi Hasan and 20 right-wing psychos.
My family lineage is settlers from the 1500s.
Colonialists.
Yeah,
colonialists. You don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about?
You're not.
What are you talking about?
You're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you can say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
Listen to me. I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Get the hell out.
I don't even like... I should get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want you here.
I'm Mehdi Hasan. I'm a journalist. I'm the editor of Zeteo. And today I'm surrounded by 20 far-right conservatives. My first claim is Donald Trump is pro-crime and pro-criminal.
This topic is going to suck. I already know it's going to suck. I also just want to acknowledge for the VOD viewers that the reason why I'm reducing the size of the video is if I keep it full screen, it gets copyright struck. If I reduce the size so the screen doesn't get recognized for copyright material and it's just audio, then typically we're pretty good. So I'm going to leave it at this size.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Mehdi.
I would just like to ask, what makes someone pro-crime versus, anti-crime?
I think when you're soft on criminals, when you let criminals out of prison, when you pardon people who've assaulted police officers, you're pro-criminal. Donald Trump pardoned almost 1,600 people who were involved in January the 6th. I think 600 of them had been charged with assaulting a police officer or obstructing a police officer. 170 had pled guilty to assaulting a police officer. 70 had pled guilty to assault with a deadly weapon. J.D. Vance said, we're not going to pardon the violent criminals from January 6th. Donald Trump pardoned all of them. Are you okay with that?
I would say January 6th is a very special case. I would say it's almost a climax point in history. I would just phrase the question this way. Right now in the LA protests, if they were to, just for example, they were to rush the capital of LA, I mean, they'd have to move over all the homeless people living in tents on the steps of the Capitol. But if they were managed to get into the Capitol and they were just protesting, peacefully, let's say police officers were rushing them in. They were letting them in and saying, hey, you guys can go in, like we have many testimonies that say.
What about the violent ones, though?
Okay, violent ones like
Like a man named David Dempsey, a judge, a Reagan-appointed judge, sentenced him to 20 years in prison. He stomped on police officers' heads. The judge said his conduct was exceptionally egregious. He attacked police officers with flagpoles and pepper spray. Donald Trump pardoned him. There's a man named Daniel Rodriguez. He got 12 years in prison for taking a stun gun and tasing a police officer in the neck and giving him a heart attack. The judge said he was a one-man army of hate. Donald Trump pardoned him. Does that not make Trump pro-criminal?
So here, I'm just gonna call it. I might even fast forward. No offense to this sweet young man. However, all I would do rhetorically here is a whataboutism. I know it's like a logical fallacy where you have to admit that Donald Trump is pro-criminal based off of this metric, but I also think it stands to reason. Part of the rage of the right wing in 2020 and 2021 was from watching the Summer of Love. So effectively, for those of you who don't know, maybe you're all young, maybe you're all 15 or 16 years old, I have no idea. But during 2020, effectively we had when was the George Floyd incident? George Floyd incident date was in May 25th, 2020. Effectively, we had sustained protests and riots through 2020, which was exacerbated by the COVID lockdowns. And so effectively, people were like locked in their homes, bored as shit, underemployed, unemployed. They engaged in protests against police brutality. And then a healthy chunk of those protests became violent and involving arson. Now, the stat that all the progressives are going to say is that 97% of the protests remained peaceful and didn't involve property damage or violence. But I also think that like a cursory Google search will show that like roughly $1 billion in property damage occurred along with 20 homicides. and it did seem like law enforcement was largely powerless to do anything about it. So I would take a whataboutism tact in this debate, even if it's a logical fallacy.
Is letting violent criminals out of prison?
I would say, okay, by your logic, Donald Trump is pro-criminal. What about Kamala Harris, helping with the bail bond stuff for protesters? I get that progressives are going to view that differently, but conservatives will 100% view that as exacerbating the issue. What about all the Democratic people calling for protests and riots during 2020? What about Joe Biden, while his rhetoric was anti-riot? What about all of his base effectively tepidly supporting what happened in 2020?
I would say no, it doesn't make him pro-criminal.
You're okay with that?
I did not say that. I said that one pardon against somebody.
It was 1,600 pardons. 600 of those were people charged
one
with...
example that you just gave me.
I can give you...
Do you guys care if I fast forward this guy? Because that's actually no offense to him, but that's like the least interesting part of it. So I'm gonna skip. No offense. You look like a nice guy though.
How's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Mehdi.
What is it?
Mehdi.
You're from northern UK, I guess?
I'm from London, North London.
Okay. Fair.
Sorry, real quick. Chat says, Mehdi also said he values God over his own son. All religious people value God over their own families, whatever, 4690. That isn't an indictment from a religious perspective.
Fair enough. What's your ethnic background, if you don't mind asking?
My parents are from India.
Okay, perfect. Just getting premise here. First of all, I want to say
the premise of Donald Trump being pro-crime.
No. I want to concern myself with why you care about what's happening in the U.S. first and foremost. Secondly, I want to say this:
should people who live in the U.S. not care about?
Let's not interrupt each other, because I have this thing. People know I have this thing. I have to stay calm. Okay. Here's the thing: I am happy that he released J6. In fact, so much so that I was prepared to protest if he didn't.
Okay.
So when you say, are you okay that he's pro-crime? Sure, because you know what? We're changing the definition of what crime is, first and foremost.
You don't think stomping on police officers' heads is a crime?
I don't think it's no longer a relevant conversation anymore. You're
really?
arguing. No, it's not, because you know what? Okay, have you seen the U.S. in the last 4 or 5 years?
Yes, I've
BLM protests. Have you seen? Okay, I myself have been involved in these protests. I've seen egregious things that you couldn't even imagine.
So
being done to conservatives. It's not about that. It's about tribal warfare. Okay. That's where we're at in the U.S. I don't know where you're at in the UK. You're from India, so I don't really.
I'm not from India.
Oh, sorry, your parents are from India, so
I'm an American citizen.
You have your own states.
I'm an American, you know.
You're an American citizen?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know how you got that, but fair enough. Here's the thing.
Are you an American citizen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Not sure how you got that. Okay.
Born here.
Okay.
Born here, and my family lineage is settlers from the 1500s, so I have some stake in the claim here. Okay.
But you're
a little different.
But you're a descendant of immigrants, settlers,
I didn't know.
Colonialists.
Yeah,
colonials. You don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about?
You're not.
What are you talking about? Whites are Native Americans.
Really?
I think
what was happening before the 1500s?
I think you're getting confused with it.
I don't mind going on a tangent. But what was happening before the 1500s?
Calm down. I think you're getting.
What was happening before the 1500s?
There was indigenous people here that came here from Asia.
Do you know what indigenous means?
Listen. Before
indigenous people can't come from somewhere else.
Why do you ask a question if you're going to interrupt?
I'm not sure if you know what the meaning of indigenous means.
I do.
Yeah, so Mehdi Hasan is very talented about being a smug D-bag, which to his credit, I haven't seen anybody posting clips of him getting blown out in this conversation or debate, so I appreciate him, being aggressive. However, I do want to point this out, though. This is something that actually has been pissing me off recently. I don't think that people in Twitch and YouTube politics are actually listening to the words that are being said and conceptualizing what's being said. I think they're responding to the emotions with which they're being said. Now my chat is filled with geniuses. So all of you listen to what I say and you understand it conceptually. All right. However, there's a lot of morons out there who only respond to emotion. And so what I think is interesting about this is that if you Google we've used Native American as a term for indigenous people for a really long time, but Native is defined as a person born in a specified place or associated with a place by birth, whether subsequently resided there or not, associated with the place or circumstances of a person's birth, of indigenous origin or growth. Now, indigenous is going to give us some problems. However, these first two terms, I think there's an argument to be made that European Americans and Hispanic Americans, by the way, and Black Americans are all a form of natives because we are born here. Now, what's interesting, though, is when you go to indigenous definition, I think you get a little bit more specificity, where it says inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before the arrival of colonists. So I actually think that this level of specificity actually helps, where indigenous should be used borderline for like Native Americans. Indigenous Americans, I think, would work. And then native is a contested rhetorical point. Actually, I find that incredibly interesting definitionally. Let's see if more develops.
You know what it means. It means
like
they came here first, right? They came here from Asia by way of land bridge. Have an argument with Neil deGrasse Tyson or anybody else about that. I don't care.
Is he an American?
Poach says, Connor, did Biden pardon all the BLM rioters? Nope. But there's arguments to be made that during 2020, the protesters were allowed to do a whole bunch of stuff and that they were given bail support by the left in order to get out and go do more protests. Now, you can say the protests are justified. I'll agree with that. However, the perception on the right is that effectively it was a open door system where somebody would go protest, they would riot, they would fight cops, they would get put in jail for a crime, then they would be let back out by the left in order to protest, riot. Then they would do it again. Then they would do it again. Then they would do it again. That's the perception on the right. I'm not saying that's 100% accurate. I'm saying that's the perception.
Genuinely don't care. Yes, he is.
Okay, just checking.
My point is, okay?
Nothing to do with crime. So far, you've agreed with me that these people are
Because you're
criminals.
derailing, dude. I'm trying to stay on track.
You literally sat down and asked me where I'm from. I think you derailed this conversation from the get-go.
By that, but I'm because
I'm not
I'm always
offended. I'm
curious,
just wondering what it has to do with crime.
I'm always curious.
We're going to talk about immigration. Don't worry. Later on, you can come back.
I hope so.
Right now, you're doing a very bad job of making the case that he's not pro-crime.
I just got a round of applause. I could probably get another one actually if I asked for it.
Wow.
So I don't think I'm doing
this how
as
you
bad.
get rounds of applause? You sit in a room with 20 people who agree with you. Wow, amazing. Amazing. That must make you feel good.
You know what? I'm actually
20 people
glad
agree
you're
with
getting
you,
this
applauded you.
emotionally outraged right
Wow.
now. This is great.
I love it.
Do I have to say anything at this point, or are you just going
Please.
to keep going?
Please,
Okay.
make your claim.
My claim is that I don't care if it's pro-crime. You want to go back to the topic of conversation?
That's fine. We agree then.
So,
He's pro-crime.
But
and you
I have
don't
a
care.
question for you, though. Do you care on the opposite side of the spectrum?
Yes.
Do you care about law being administered
Yes.
to the opposite side of the
Yes.
spectrum?
I think
when they're
anyone
doing
who
the same?
assaults a police officer shouldn't be pardoned. I think that Donald Trump shouldn't have pardoned 9 Republican members of Congress who were convicted of crimes, and I don't think Joe Biden should commit. I don't think Democrats should pardon Democrats.
Fair, but I don't think you understand where we are in the U.S. then.
I think I do.
No, because you're arguing from a position of like a U.S. that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. We're headed towards
nihilism, no laws, nothing matters.
It's not about
everyone's pro-crime.
It's not about that. It's that conservatives conservatives for too long have been playing it safe. They've been playing by the law. They've been playing by the law. Yes, they have.
Maybe you missed the Bush presidency. Did you live here during the Bush years?
Conservatives are
didn't play by the law, George W. Bush, nor did Ronald Reagan.
Let's be respectful to you. Let me finish.
I'm not sure you've been that respectful, but okay.
No. Okay. Listen, we can fight about this in a moment, but Dominic Gaeta says, and that's why this type of discussion goes nowhere. Mehdi actually has intellectual and journalistic integrity, whereas the Jubilee picks in this room are devoid of intellect and integrity. Listen, you guys are going to have to evolve past this, all right? When it comes to argumentation, disagreeing with someone is not an indicator of intelligence. Right now, nothing's been said so far. Okay, the first guy I skipped because, to be honest, he seemed a little bit mousy, and he also seemed to be like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by, he's anti-crime, which I just didn't want to wait 5 minutes for him to make a point. This guy, though, he sat down and made a point, or he's trying to, and I'm going to go ahead and infer the points that he's making because Mehdi is not letting him make the argumentation. He's interrupting him every 4 seconds. As a matter of fact, I'll point that out to you momentarily. What this guy, I think his argument is that he has, through virtue of being a colonist that's been here for 500 years, he's now a Native American. Through the course of 500 years of history, he has an investment in the stake of the United States of America. Whereas civic nationalism, paperwork nationalists, that says that anybody can come here and anybody can become a citizen, which is what I believe, by the way, doesn't mean that they have a stake or they have the interests of the nation at heart. And he's probably going to accuse Mehdi Hasan, a son of Indian parents who moved to the United Kingdom, who's a dual citizen of the United States and the United Kingdom, who has advocated for Islamism in the past, who has articulated his hostility to the Western world in the past, he's going to argue that he's not a real citizen because he's not ethno-religiously of this tribal group, and that also he advocates against the health of that tribal group. Mehdi Hasan, in return, is just going to say, well, I'm human and I'm advocating for justice in general. So anyways, I could explain it further, but Dominic Gaeta, I want you to pay attention to how little is said in the next minute. It's 7:28. I'm going to watch the clock and try to time what's going on.
I'm trying to bring it back, so let's both bring it back,
That's
okay?
good.
That was 3 seconds with an interruption.
I'm conservative, okay?
Really?
Let me
1.5 seconds, and he interrupted again.
tell you this. We do play it too safe. We've been playing it by the book for too long. Okay. At this point, gloves are off, right? The left has made their point. They're willing to
the police force in Washington, the left.
7 seconds.
Yes. Are you kidding me? The left? Are you insane?
Police officers.
Look at LA right here.
3 seconds.
You think those stand down?
You think the LAPD are a bunch of liberal Marxists?
4 seconds and a straw man argument.
No, but I
Really?
think they listen to liberal Marxists who tell them what to do.
Okay.
I think they listen to who signs their paychecks at the end
Can
of
I
the
just
day.
check,
who are
because
liberal
you're doing
Marxists.
lots of little diversions. We both agree Donald Trump's pro-crime, you're just fine with it.
No,
Is that the position? That's what you've said so far for about 5 minutes.
I don't agree with your definition.
What's your
of crime.
definition of crime?
It doesn't
Stomping
matter.
on a police officer's head is not a crime. That's
no,
your
what I'm
definition
saying-
of crime as the
He keeps getting
Native
me out of it.
American,
I am Native American.
if you
Okay,
say so.
So going back to the topic at hand, we have different definitions of crime because you're
That's
talking about.
convenient. There's a
It's not
criminal
about-
code
it's
in
not
this
about
country.
what's
It's called the
convenient.
U.S. Criminal Code.
You know what?
Okay, so Dominic, I hope you understand why I'm frustrated with this style of conversation. Is that while what effectively is happening is this style of conversation is these people come in order to try to get dunks, and this person has to defend against the dunks. That's the style of conversation. So I understand that Mehdi, he's just trying to survive, right? That's why they call it surrounded, right? However, number one, I don't view Mehdi's defensive strategy of interrupting every 5 to 7 seconds with a point that throws his opposing interlocutor off balance. I don't view it as specifically skillful. I could have a conversation with you, and every 3 seconds I could be like, "Oh, ba 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 ba, oh, ba 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 ba, oh, ba 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 ba," and I could just do that over and over again. And regardless of whether or not you're an 80 IQ dipshit or a 3000 IQ astrophysicist who has perfect rhetoric, you're not going to be able to contend with that line of argumentation because it's not argumentation, it's rhetoric. So I actually hate this. I hate what Mehdi Hasan is doing. I would like it if this guy was able to articulate his argumentation in full, and then Mehdi was able to contend with it. Now, if you want to say that he needs to be brief, because brevity is the soul of wit, which is why I'm very dumb in that regard, then you can make arguments that he's taking too long to make a point. But I think he needs more than 2 seconds.
But let's focus on what we agree on. I'm sure you and I actually agree on a lot
Do we
more than
agree
you
that
realize.
people shouldn't stomp on police officers' heads? Can we agree on that? If you don't
Yes.
agree on that, then I really think this conversation is kind of
No,
pointless.
because first of all, you're saying what? That the police have the authority, that they're given the authority. I don't accept the authority that's been
It's a
given by
very
liberal
conservative
Marx.
position. Or the conservative are pro-police.
Then you
Or
don't
we
know what a
redefine-
real. Hey, listen,
So
you're
we
in a room
redefine
with
crime.
juggernauts right now.
We
Okay,
redefine
I'm telling you right now,
conservatives.
you are going to be blown
I
open
mean,
if you think
yeah,
that my
if we're going to
position
struggle
is
with the
all right,
English
you
language
have
for the
no
next couple
idea
hours, then yeah,
what you're
we'll
up
struggle.
against right now. Okay,
100%.
yeah. Newsflash: the conservatives are liberal to me. Okay. Neocons, libertarians, all those mainstream people, they might as well be leftists to me. Okay.
Thanks. This is who I argue with on Twitter. He's right. The neocons, the libertarians, the conservatarians, and the liberals need to create a coalition in the middle, and we need to kick out the fringe freak left and the fringe freak right. This guy's correct.
That's how far to the right I am. Do you understand my position? So when
I
you
kinda
say,
guessed it when you sat down.
say, about obeying police, why would I give the authority to police? Do you know here in America?
Do you think Donald Trump should be
America?
pardoning 9 members of Congress
Do you
who
know
committed
who-
financial crimes? Are
Let me
you
see if
pro?
I can remember
Are you
his name
pro
right, because
financial
it's so-
crime?
Do you know who
pro
Tom-
financial?
This guy could benefit from the fanatic tactic. I'm gonna check in with chat because frankly, Mehdi's being a dick. Now, you might say that this guy deserves it, and I'll agree with that. However, it's going nowhere fast. So what I'm going to say is this guy could benefit from the fanatic tactic where Mehdi is interrupting every 5 seconds, and this guy should just repeat the same point over and over again and go, do you know the guy? 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 And just say it until Mehdi Hasan shuts up due to annoyance. Zena says, I think scale matters and nature matters. Trump is significantly worse and attacks the foundations in a way that Biden doesn't. I agree, Zena. I agree. But this is the argumentation. And by the way, half the arguments that you're going to hear from me today are not things that I agree with. They're things that I'm trying to describe from the opposing side so you understand them. So right-wingers, I agree with your assessment that January 6th is more important than the BLM riots. Reason being is because the BLM riots attacked local businesses, local law enforcement, local judiciaries. And so as a result of that, it's effectively a local problem that can be stomped out by local police. Whereas January 6th attacked the federal government, the balance of power in the United States, and our very system of governance. Therefore, January 6th is infinitely more important in its target than the BLM riots. However, what the right wing is going to say and the January 6ers are going to say is that the left wing was allowed to effectively throw a temper tantrum for all of 2020, whereas the right wing got to throw a temper tantrum for one day. So that's going to be the line of argumentation. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm saying that's their line of argumentation. Luis Salazar says, I can't believe BLM was 5 years ago. Yeah, I know, right? Sen Patty says, the sheep will baa for me if I ask them to. Yep. Dr. Plague Doctor says, this is a very scary line of reasoning. It's making me really want to buy ammo that people believe this. Yeah, buy some ammo. Now, the truth be told, these guys are, right-wing fringe schizophrenics who are going to spend 99% of their political energy on, forums and Reddits and shit arguing about why fascism is correct. That doesn't mean that you don't need to be ready because these people exist, 100%. Dan S. says, yeah, while I agree with much of what Mehdi has to say, he does interrupt too much. Now, we're just warming up too, so I should be charitable to Mehdi a little bit. Miles Otwell says, I think that there is a way to have this conversation about nihilism in the American population. This guy isn't smart enough to say it, though. Sure. Yep. All right. Anyways, I'm going to read 3 or 4 more, then we'll get back into it. Randy Chang says, Jubilee picks and screens these people by how unhinged they are, right? The whole format is just rage bait? Yes and no. I've heard some good points in here somewhere. Si se puede says, Valor Media Network, I was born here and served in the U. I'm assuming you're saying in the military. Then, yeah, to me, you're American, 100%. Fashion 40 says, he's also arguing with conservatives don't have to follow the laws, and today the U.S. is deterrent now, so we are in tribal warfare. Yeah, this guy is an asshole, and he makes the world a worse place, 100%. Joseph says, I don't think any of the Jubilee discussions go anywhere despite who's involved. I don't know about that. There was that one black chick who was talking with Jordan Peterson who had a really interesting conversation. Anyways, I parasocially love you. Thank you for being here. Like the stream. Super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them, engage in chat. There's lots of really funny, interesting people there. Watch the VODs, engage with the VODs.
Do you know who Thomas Timbo is?
Pause.
I think the people who clapped you have voted you out.
No. All right. Head back to your seat. You've been voted out by the majority.
Nice to meet you. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey. So I'm going to be as respectful about this as possible, but the truth is your claim is completely bad faith. You do not care about being anti-crime. You yourself are pro-crime. Your side is pro-crime because you're a progressive.
How am I pro-crime?
So I'll give you an example, right? So your side, not Donald Trump, has passed a series of laws in California. Let's go with California. It's where we are right now. It's where I'm from. I don't know. Are you from California?
No.
Or okay. So in California, for example, the state legislature, completely progressive, just passed a law that limits sex offender registration to 10 years. It was life before. That's pro-crime. The legislature.
Fact check. California has a tier-based sex offender registry. Those who commit misdemeanors have to register for a minimum of 10 years, while those who commit more serious sex crimes have to register for 20 years to life.
Legislature in California, which is progressives again, has passed a law that says the voter-induced 3-strike law is no longer absolute. If someone murders someone, stabs someone on 3 separate occasions, a judge now does not have to give them life. That's a progressive.
California voters changed the state's 3-strike rule in 2012, so the mandatory 25 to life sentence was only imposed on serious or violent offenders. In 2021, the legislature ordered a mandatory resentencing for those with certain enhanced sentences. Okay. However, I'm with this guy so far. I'm sorry for interrupting so briefly. I know we need to let the content flow. However, three strikes law has a whole bunch of bad press around it, where a guy committed like 3 felonies that were technically felonies. Like they had possession of weed once, possession of weed twice, and then shoplifting for a dollar amount greater than 300, and they caught a serious sentence. That's why the 3 strike rule was overturned. Now, that being said, I think that this level of reform is probably positive, that we're going to have more nuance in our sentencing laws. However, I do agree with this guy spiritually that California has fucked up, as an example, with them increasing the shoplifting standard in order to create a felony, and then also by telling cops that they're not going to enforce certain shoplifting codes, they've effectively incentivized shoplifting. So I agree with this guy spiritually, but not factually.
Progressive law, that is pro-crime. You support that, don't you?
I actually don't support sex offenders coming off a list. I think they should be on for life.
Okay, so you disagree with progressives.
So hold on. You and I both agree that sex offending is a bad thing, especially child sex offending, right?
It seems like you and I agree on that.
I agree
on that. The legislature of California doesn't.
So I'm not here to debate the legislature of California. I'm here to debate Donald Trump being pro-crime. And I'm saying that Donald Trump was friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. When Ghislaine Maxwell, who's the worst child sex trafficker of our lifetime, she's serving over 20 years. Do you know Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah, she's actually not. Jeffrey Epstein's the worst sex trafficker.
He's dead. I'm talking about people who are alive right now.
It's interesting, though, you didn't use his name, right? Wouldn't he be the one who did this?
Oh, great. I'm glad you brought up Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, before he died, did an interview with Michael Wolff. He's on tape. I don't know if you heard the tape. He says, my closest friend was Donald Trump. I was his closest friend. Elon Musk, I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He tweeted recently that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files. And Ghislaine Maxwell, who was the right-hand woman of Jeffrey Epstein, when she was on trial for child sex offending, which you and I are opposed to, Donald Trump stood up and said, good luck to her, I wish her well. So yeah, that makes him pro-crime and pro-criminal if he's being soft on child sex traffickers.
Sorry, for me, this is just true. Like, I don't understand. I do understand. It's because conservatives have put so much political momentum behind Donald Trump, they can't believe that they backed such a shitbag. But I am so happy that the Epstein stuff is sticking right now. I really am. It should have been the line of argumentation the entire time. When Jeffrey Epstein died in prison under Trump's watch, when he said, I wish Ghislaine Maxwell well in her court appearances, this should have been the line of attack the entire time. I think the reason why Democrats and left-wing people were hesitant to do this line of attack is because it also implicates Bill Gates, one of the richest people on the planet, who is one of the largest philanthropists on the planet. And then also it implicates Bill Clinton, who is, of course, a champion of the Democratic Party. But he's old now and relatively irrelevant. So if his reputation gets sullied, then it doesn't matter as much anymore. But I really, really, really wish they'd taken this line of attack 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's obviously working, and I love that it's working.
Said they
like
were his
Epstein.
Friends. He's
no, I'm saying he was friends. He was friends with Epstein. You haven't seen the videos? They danced together, partied together. Epstein said I was his closest friend.
He's not supported the pedophilia part. The only people supporting pedophilia
that's not
are
true.
the left.
Trump gave a speech about 20 years ago where he said Epstein's a great guy. He loves young women. A lot of them are very young. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, laugh, laugh. So yeah, I think he's pro-crime and pro-criminal.
And I think he's soft on sex offenders. Do you have any friends who are criminals?
Not that I know of. Certainly not child sex offenders. No, do you?
No, of course not.
Okay, so we're both in agreement again. So why are you defending Donald Trump?
If it came out tomorrow that one of your friends was a child sex trafficker,
you know what I'd do?
You'd stop being friends with them.
Yes. And I wouldn't say.
And then I'd go on TV and I would say, "Oh, look, Mr. Hasan was friends with this guy 10 years ago. Therefore, he's pro-child sex trafficking." What if Mr. Hasan
said, "I wish them well when they're on trial"? Wouldn't you ever go at me for that?
You wish your friend well on trial?
Yeah, child sex trafficker. Would you be mad?
I wouldn't wish someone well, but
Donald
your
Trump
gotcha.
did.
That's your gotcha.
It's a pretty big gotcha.
Yes, that's a fantastic gotcha, by the way. So hold on. This has to be one of my favorite scenes. I understand that I have like a schizophrenic flow right now, but it's because we're easing into the content. Watch this, okay? Now imagine that Dee Reynolds. You guys can help. Imagine that Dee Reynolds, the blonde woman, is Pam Bondi. Imagine that Dennis Reynolds, the younger white guy with black hair, imagine that's Dan Bongino. And then imagine that Frank, the short guy, imagine that that's Donald Trump, and imagine that as an AI video. Now listen to this.
You guys can help me with my thing. We got to shred a bunch of documents.
What? What are you talking about, man?
Well, the thing of it is, may or may not have been the official beverage supplier of Jeffrey Epstein.
What?
Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, but before you judge me, know this. Yes, I was on the sex island, but only for the snorkeling. I didn't know anything about the kid stuff. No, look, 95% of what went on down there was not pedophilia.
Oh, yeah?
No, the other 5%, that sullied the whole operation.
Yeah, it sure did,
sure
Frank.
did.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it ain't just me. You guys' names are on those documents too, remember?
What? Still?
God damn it!
Son of a
Frank,
bitch.
No, I don't have time for this.
Well, come on and be quick. It's only a couple boxes.
Ah, shit. God damn it.
Sorry. All right. To summarize this point, I feel like this part of the content is a little bit less schizophrenic because the interlocutor is actually dealing with the criminal argumentation. I think Mehdi Hasan is doing a brilliant job dunking on the Jeffrey Epstein angle. I think this should have been the angle the whole time. Back to the content.
You wished a friend
pretty
well.
big gotcha.
Okay,
He
but
praised
see,
the- he
what
praised
you're
the
really
woman
trying
for
to do
child
right now is you're
What
trying to
about
get
the
back
fact
to
that he's-
Donald Trump
what
on
about
a
the fact
personal
that
level.
Elon
Let's
Musk
talk
says his
policy.
name is-
What's his policy?
you want to talk policies?
Yes.
So when he left office in 2020, he left behind the highest murder rate for over 100 years.
He left
Between
behind the highest murder.
Yes.
That is the most bad faith claim you
No,
could
no,
possibly make.
it's a fact from the
No,
CDC
and you know
data.
what? Here's why it's bad faith.
Can I finish a sentence and then you can come back in?
You're just lying to people. Donald
I'm
Trump.
lying? Can I finish the sentence?
Donald Trump does not cause the
Can
murder
I-
rates.
can I-
Murder is a state level
that's
crime.
hilarious.
Gavin
Conservatives
Newsom is
spent-
more responsible for the murder rate than Donald Trump is.
That's hilarious. So Donald Trump's not responsible murder rate, but other politicians who are Democrats.
Yes,
are.
because it's
Everyone
a state
can see
level
your
law.
heart is that
That's
shit.
like saying no. I'll say Republicans are too. State governors who are soft on crime are the ones that are
Let
responsible
me finish
for
the
murder
sentence. When Donald Trump left office in 2020, between 2019 and 2020, according to data from the CDC, from the FBI, from Pew Research, there's a 30% increase in the murder rate between 2019 and 2020. It was the single biggest jump in the murder rate since 1905.
And who's doing
so he's pro-crime
who's doing the murdering?
and
Aren't they
pro-criminal.
responsible? Who's doing the murdering?
The murderers.
So aren't they responsible
But why
for the
did it
murder
go up
rate?
on his watch?
What?
Why did it go up on his watch?
Gee, that's
This is where I'm going to say Mehdi Hasan pisses me off. I get it. There might be people who are cheering him on in chat, but this is where Mehdi Hasan genuinely pisses me off. Would he hold the same standard for Biden? Obviously not. And in 2020, did we have the worst economic catastrophe since the Great Depression? And was it controllable? That's the point. So like sometimes I'll make some arguments about Trump caused inflation because we obviously had a correlated, we're talking about COVID, okay? We're talking about 2020. So what happened was we had a pandemic disease that was going to kill the shit out of everybody. We had to cool down parts of the economy because we didn't want everybody going to work because they would get infected and died. And that would have been worse for the economy and also worse for people. So what we did is we did the lockdowns, right? And it was implemented haphazardly, et cetera, et cetera. However, what ended up happening was with that increase in unemployment, with that increase in underemployment, with that increase in financial insecurity, what ended up happening was we had a spike in crime. Well, I'm not going to hold Donald Trump personally accountable for the fact that we got hit with a pandemic disease. So if I would not criticize Biden for that, then I'm not going to criticize Trump for that. However, Mehdi Hasan is just going for dunks. So he's in my line of thinking, this is disingenuous argumentation. I don't think he would hold the same standard. I think if somebody was attacking Biden along the same lines, he would say, oh, well, it was a one-off. It was a pandemic disease. What did you want Biden to do? I don't think he would have the same line of attack. Hutch says, Connor, he's interrupting Nazis who aren't staying on topic. Might be annoying, but let's not ignore what they are saying to him. Yeah, you should still be able to allow your ideological enemies to be able to articulate a full position before you attack the position. Like, call me a liberal free marketplace of ideas person all you want. I think that when you constantly interrupt bad people from making their arguments, what it comes off to a lot of people of is rhetorical weakness. It means that you're scared of their position because you can't actually contend with it. So Charles Burrows says, liberal insofar as they believe in democratic values. Sure. Crawling Chaos says, fuck this. Not going to listen to this shit. That thing is constructed by maggots to make people angry, hateful. It's easy click money. Fuck that. Bye. Okay. Jesus, bud. Relax. It's just content. Fucking KM says, bro is horseshoeing on the police take. True. Matthew Mendoza says the whole video kind of goes nowhere, but it's entertaining. All right. Well, we'll keep it up. We got 100 people hanging out with us, so I'm happy to watch this. Fashion 40 says Mehdi is being such a dick because this guy came through with some bullshit. Does he interrupt more than Tucker Carlson? No idea. Old School says, I've never been impressed with Mehdi. He gets by using interruptions, pleas to victimhood, non-whites and Muslims, and assists from like-minded people to win any argument. Gotcha. Vlad says, well, I generally disagree with his Mehdi is arguing, and I'm directly biting his point. I think it's redundant to debate fascists, and a good chunk of them identify as such. Wrong. Don't, listen, I love you guys, and I'm happy that you're here. So don't take anything that I say as an insult, okay? I don't understand why you would come to my channel if you weren't interested in contending with fascist argumentation. I really don't. Like, if you just want to get jayed off by a liberal and just told, like, liberal and progressivism is 100% correct, and all of your enemies have nothing to say, and you don't need to pay attention to them, they're actually just stupid, then you should probably be watching Vosh. Destiny actually does contend with ideological arguments, but you should probably be watching Destiny because oftentimes he just presumes his own correctness. But I don't know why you would come here if you were like, I don't even want to consider fascist ideas. Wrong channel. Might need to find a liberal J-off channel. Matter of fact, I actually have a couple of recommendations. Hutch is somebody who does good breakdown content, but he's very liberal. And then Pondering Politics, I love him. I love Josiah, but his content is effectively, here's the Democratic perspective on this current event 3 times per day. So if you want a liberal circle jerk, boom, there's 2 excellent creators for you. I'm going to read 1 or 2 more, then we'll get back into it. Sacred Snow says, did you see JBP claim he was given a misleading prompt that was a trap, implying that he did so bad? My dad has Alzheimer's. Leave him alone. Sacred Snow says, holy shit, this is Dark Mirror Dan Saltman. Same cadence, similar voice, similar look, but is a fascist. True. All right, let's continue.
That's a real hard one to figure out, right? We shut down the whole economy during COVID. We told everyone they couldn't go out unless it was to violently protest. We told people that if a cop tries to arrest you, that cop's probably going to get charged with murder.
No, I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it. Right. The pandemic didn't finish in 2020.
What?
The pandemic didn't finish in 2020.
Do you ask why the murder rate went up?
This guy's contending with it just fine.
What about you? You guys blame Joe Biden for crime for years.
What Joe Biden actively induces policies that are pro-crime. I'm asking.
So does Donald Trump. Okay.
Name the policy that's pro-crime. Please, I've asked you for like 10 minutes.
I'll name one right now.
He's going to say the pardons.
No, you haven't actually. You talked about California legislatures. He pardoned violent criminals who then went on to commit other crimes. You don't think releasing violent crimes into the community?
Pardon is a one-time thing. What's his policy he has pushed? Name a law he has signed.
A pardon is a one-time thing. A policy is not one-time thing.
That's like Jimmy Carter pardoned the draft.
You guys may want to dodge January 6th, the pardon.
I'm not dodging that.
Then deal with it. Did you agree with
I'm going to right now.
Do you agree with
Jimmy Carter pardoned the draft dodgers? Does that mean his policy was no one has to...
I don't support Jimmy Carter. Do you support the pardoning of people who went on to be prosecuted for sexually abusing a 7-year-old child, illegal gun possession, reckless homicide?
Now, see, there's more bad faith. There's more bad faith. He didn't pardon someone for sexually abusing a child.
But they went on to be convicted of it.
For rebelling against the government that they believed had rigged elections. That's what he pardoned them for. He didn't pardon them for sexual child abuse.
But they were criminals who committed those crimes. He let them out. So that means the crime rate goes up.
So you say they're criminals because they did the crime, right? Yeah. Would you extend that to illegal immigrants, that they're all criminals because they committed a crime? I have a...
No, the Supreme Court, we're going to talk about immigration.
Someone who's illegally entered the United States, not a criminal, but somebody who illegally entered the Capitol is.
Not according to the Supreme Court of the United States.
The Supreme Court has said that anyone who enters the United States illegally is not a criminal.
And we can jump to future claims.
Can I get the case site?
We can jump to 20. You want to get the case?
The case site, please. You said the Supreme Court.
The citation of the case.
Yes, that entering the United States illegally is not a crime.
It's called Arizona versus United States 2012. Go look it up.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
He did good. Obviously, I don't agree with his line of argumentation, but he did good where Mehdi was giving him a shitload of energy, and he gave that shitload of energy back. Fashion 40 says, Connor, would the straw man for the changes in LA enforcement on retail shoplifting be there's 4 police officers for more severe issues and crimes taking place? Yeah, my only problem with that line of argumentation, though, is effectively broken windows policing. While you can say that broken windows goes too far, there's a precipitous drop in crime in New York and a substantive increase in standard of living in New York after broken windows was implemented. And it's because the cops were so aggressive with crime. There were whole neighborhoods that it was pretty much known that no bad behavior would be tolerated. And so as a result, no bad behavior was conducted in those neighborhoods. So then you start creating like these pockets of crime. So that would be my frustration with that line of argumentation, Fashion 40, is by decreasing the consequences for shoplifting, you're to the point that there's effectively no consequences. You're effectively incentivizing the behavior. So yeah. Sorry, there was another point here that I wanted to make before we kind of moved on, which is effectively like it's just with Mehdi. His line of argumentation is effective. It's rhetorically effective, but I don't view the spike in violence related to COVID. I don't view that as argued in good faith. I really don't. So that's where you can agree with Mehdi policy-wise and politically. I think his rhetoric is disingenuous. Larry Hutchinson says, comparing BLM bail bonds to pardoning the J6ers is disanalogous. BLM riders still face justice while violent January 6ers were able to walk away with a clean read and some HV became repeat offenders. Sure. I'll agree with you that it's disanalogous because of bond doesn't mean that the crime gets forgiven. I agree with you. However, I think that the argument from the right wing around BLM was by bonding these people out, you were effectively incentivizing the protesting and the rioting. And then not just that, oftentimes because they're just doing mass arrests, the things that these people are charged with in order to hold them are things that don't necessarily correlate with the amount of violence incurred and the amount of damage done. It was just something that a cop who's already busy filled out on a piece of paper in order to get them into the jail cell. So you're letting these people out to do the crime again.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you going, sir?
Nice to meet you, Mehdi.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. I really just more want to get an understanding. When you say pro-criminal, what do you mean?
I mean that when confronted with people who've committed criminal acts, Donald Trump has been either soft on them, friendly with them, pardoned them, and of course, let's not forget, I mean, we've got 5 minutes left. I'm surprised it hasn't come up earlier. He's a convicted criminal himself sitting in the White House.
Okay, I want to make sure I understand you correctly because I don't want to straw man you.
No,
You're saying
I appreciate that.
every time that he's been confronted,
Not every time. I didn't say the words every time.
most times,
A lot of the time.
a lot of the times,
Yes.
he's leaned towards criminal activity.
I didn't say criminal activity. He has committed crimes.
Endorsed criminal.
He's been indicted for
Correct.
88 different criminal offenses in 4 different jurisdictions by 5 different grand juries. He was convicted himself on 34 different criminal offenses by a jury of his peers.
Okay.
But let's park that for a moment.
Okay.
Separate to his own crimes, when
Right.
confronted with the crimes of others or the alleged crimes of others, for example, a Chinese crypto billionaire called
Right.
Justin Sun, who was being investigated for market manipulation, Trump dropped the case, invited him to the golf course,
Right, I get
invited
it.
him
So
to the White House,
plenty of examples,
and the guy
plenty of
invested
examples.
$70 million in Trump's
Okay, so
cryptocurrency.
what I want to ask you
That's
this.
pro-crime in my
so
view.
is
True. Trump's corrupt as fuck. Old School says the Epstein attacks aren't actually working if you read the polls, Connor. Conservatives are upset and disappointed, but they see all the good Trump has done this term. Old School, I don't give a fuck. Okay? I'll tell you why I don't give a fuck. I'll tell you why. And both times that I was screaming, somebody, I think Sacred Snow pointed out that I peeked out, so you didn't hear what I was screaming. I was screaming, get him, Mehdi, get him, because he was going down the Epstein line of attack. You understand that you guys, like conservatives, okay? I think that I love Burke. I could explain the entire philosophy of Burkean conservatism. I think that Jordan Peterson style social conservatism is the right way to conduct yourself. I think that fiscal conservatism and balancing the budget is important so we don't ultimately capsize our society. So I can make perfect arguments for the philosophy of fiscal, social, and Burkean conservatism, and I subscribe to all 3 of those ideologies. However, there is the philosophy of conservatism, then there's the tribal group that identifies as social conservatives, fiscal conservatives, and as that nobody knows about Burke, so ignore Burke. When it comes to the fiscal conservatives, we're still running a deficit, and you cut 0.16% of the budget that is projected to kill 14 million people worldwide over the next 5 years. That's a fucking nightmare. That's a rhetorical baseball bat that if 14 million people die, it could be 1 million, it could be 5 million, it could be 7 million. But I'm going to take that as a rhetorical baseball bat, and I am going to beat the fuck out of fiscal conservatives for the next decade about how they didn't accomplish shit and they killed millions of people out of sociopathic lizard-brained bullshit. When it comes to social conservatives who argue about monogamy, matrimony, protecting the family unit, et cetera, I am going to take the Epstein sweeping as a rhetorical baseball bat, and I am going to beat the fuck out of MAGA for the next decade. So you can say that support within the conservatives has not dropped for Donald Trump, despite him being a fucking sweeper for pedophilia. It's perfect for me because I'm fighting for a center-left, center-right coalition of conservatarians, libertarians, liberals, maybe a few progressives here and there. I'm going to rhetorically beat the fuck out of you for the next decade. There is nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. If you celebrate killing 14 million people and sweeping for a pedophile ring, I'm going to smash you every time you come onto the internet. I don't want conservatives to do that, by the way. I would prefer it if we uncovered the pedophile ring and prosecuted everybody involved. I would prefer it if we made cuts to the budget that actually made sense. But barring that, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And it's going to work.
Is it possible, because remember, the burden of proof's on you, right? You have to prove. Is it possible that all these things that he's done that supposedly make him pro-crime, is there some...
Biz D says, Jeffrey Epstein, the financier?
Another reason for the doing it. There's other justification. For example, let me give an example, and then you can rebut it. The J6.
Yes.
Is it possible that he could have done this to unite the country, to move past, to go to a new chapter? If it's even possible, I think you would have to admit that there's another possibility. Therefore, he's not pro-crime. At least in possibility.
So let me agree and disagree.
Yeah, okay.
So I agree with you that the intent could be different. I don't think Donald Trump was sitting there saying, how can I increase the level of murders? Let me release some murderers.
Right.
I'm not saying he did that on January 6th. I don't think he was trying to unite the country. That's where we disagree. That's bullshit. In fact, he divided the country further. But intent doesn't really matter to my claim. If he's releasing violent criminals,
Wait.
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
No, he's pro-crime and pro-criminal.
No, but that's a big indictment to say pro-crime. That means
if I'm
he's
confronted,
for crime.
I'm confronted. Well, he is, because, for example, I gave an example.
No. It could be possible. Okay, sorry, forgive me.
Your friend earlier, your ally, said, where has he done stuff that's increased the crime? I'm telling you, people have been pardoned who have been convicted on multiple other crimes. These people who we pardoned had previous criminal records. They were not just some folks chilling around go, we're against the takeover of our country, we're opposed to rebellion. A lot of these people were already hardened criminals, militia members. He looked at those people and said, you know what? They've been convicted, in many cases, by Republican judges, but I'm going to let them out. Yeah, that makes you pro-criminal.
Is it possible?
Very much so. And if Joe Biden had done it, you'd be attacking him.
Sure. Is it possible that their conviction was part of a plea? It's like, oh shit, I can't get out of this, so I got to take a plea deal.
Some of them, maybe.
A lot of them, maybe?
Others we saw with our own lying eyes on tape, battering police.
Yeah, okay. Your guys' line of argumentation is not necessarily working here, which, by the way, I appreciate this guy, and I can feel the energy change. He's trying to have like a good faith discussion, so I appreciate this guy doing that. You guys are like, well, Mehdi Hasan doesn't like liberals, so yeah, he would attack them for a spike in crime too. Okay, well, fuck him for that as well. All right? How about that? How about if the economy implodes and there's mass unemployment and underemployment, there's going to be a correlated spike in crime that's not preventable. How about that? How about following truth instead of rhetoric? How about that? Like, sorry, this actually fucking pisses me off. I know that we're all divided into tribal political groups right now. The one thing that I'm going to keep centered in my conversations as maximally as possible is truth. If I say something true, I want my opponents to acknowledge that it's true. If they say something true, I will admit that it's true, even if it's inconvenient to my argument. I'm going to tell you something that pisses me off real quick. During the debate with Stephen, there was a line of argumentation that I admitted was true. And then there were people bitching that I admitted it was true in Steven's comments. And it was that right-wing pundits have not paid a real price for platforming Andrew Tate. That is a decent point from Steven's perspective, is that Steven is accused of leaking homemade sex tapes, and he's an abrasive asshole who makes fucked up jokes. Those are bad things, but compared to actual sex trafficking, actual rape, actual, beating women, this is almost nothing. And so if the right wing isn't going to pay a price for platforming Tate, why should the left wing pay a price when it comes to Steven's bad behavior? That's an okay point. Now, the thing is, Jordan, the reason why I don't accept that standard is because Jordan Peterson hasn't platformed Tate. If anything, he's endlessly criticized Tate. Ben Shapiro hasn't platformed Tate. If anything, he's endlessly excoriated Tate. So there's decent right wingers that I'm okay with, and there's piece of shit, dog shit, asshole right wingers that I want nothing to do with. So Steven's talking about the latter, whereas I prefer the former, and I want Steven to be the former instead of the latter. But he's just engaging in bad behavior. Let's be real, a little bit for attention and because he thinks it's funny.
So I want to
did you watch live on January 6th? What happened?
To be completely honest, I'm pretty novice on this. Okay. I'm more trying to target. You're saying he's pro-crime. And in my head,
I'm
just
saying,
thinking this logically. Let me finish. If I can finish for 1 second. If thinking this, and there's a possibility that he might have had other reasons. For example, unifying the country. Yep. Next chapter, right? That could be the reason. Therefore, it's not pro-crime. There was other reasons. I'm just saying that's a possibility. And if that's,
I'm saying it's a possibility, but I'm saying it's irrelevant because if you're knowingly releasing violent criminals out into the community, pardoning, not just releasing, then yes, you are being pro-criminal. And I've interviewed police officers.
I don't know about that case.
I've interviewed police officers who have been assaulted, beaten, had to retire from the police office, broken bones.
Can I move really quick?
I'll finish very quickly. I've interviewed these police officers. They've been beaten by people who they've then seen walk off the streets and then carry on threatening them. Yes, when Donald Trump is responsible for that, you're definitely pro-crime.
Okay,
True. Megastar for $5. Thank you for kicking off the donations this morning. Good morning, Connor. Good morning, Megastar. Good to see you. Thank you for the donation. And hi, Grassroots. Good to see you.
I doubt a lot of the sources, but
you doubt police officers who testified to being assaulted.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thanks. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Nice to meet you, Mehdi.
So you claim that your main claim is that Trump pardoned some people from January 6th. By the way, I was there.
With only 2 minutes left, this is actually like a bad argumentative tactic to jump in with only 2 minutes left.
Saw it all firsthand. About a football field away. There's smoke in my eyes. Bloodied. It was a crazy day.
Were you convicted of any crimes?
No, of course not, because I didn't enter the building. Stay very peaceful. But your entire claim is that he pardoned.
That's not my entire claim.
Your bet's basically you keep bringing it up. All you do is bring it up.
Okay, I'll mention some other people.
Let me say this.
Are you okay with his pardoning of Paul Walton?
There's only 2 minutes left, so if you actually wanted to get a line of argumentation done, you wouldn't interrupt the guy 5 seconds into the conversation. This is where I'm just going to point out Mehdi is being a dick and he's using rhetoric to win.
Who
let
stole
me
money
bring
from
this
his
up.
employees.
You keep talking about
9 former
pardoning.
members of Congress.
You keep
That's my
talking
claim.
about pardoning.
He keeps pardoning.
D Field says, I understand the pushback against Mehdi's style of debate, but being soft on these idiots is how we got where we are in the first place. No, wrong. Okay. These people were pushed off of social media between 2016 to 2020. And when did Elon buy Twitter? When did Elon buy Twitter? Elon Musk, 2022. So from 2016 to 2022, these people were pushed to forums and all that bullshit, and they never heard a good counter argumentation for their ideology because they were dismissed wholesale. And then Elon bought Twitter in reaction to overly censorious, progressive, and liberal social media. And then this opened up the floodgates where the dissidents who had been practicing and honing conspiracist rhetoric for a decade flooded social media and annihilated public conversation. So no, squeezing these people into the margins and not addressing their argumentation has not worked. And if anything, it's exacerbated the situation. So I disagree with the progressive notion that if we just stopped talking to these people, we would somehow be in a better position. Wild disagree.
Criminals. That makes him.
You know who else
pro-criminal.
pardoned a big criminal?
Go on.
Sorry, somebody says something totally unrelated that I want to address. Mario Wall, thank you for your positive comments in reference to the show. But you say, I don't understand why people don't watch the Army-Navy game. I'm going to tell you, okay? The reason why I don't watch the Army-Navy game is because when I was in high school, I went to an Army-Navy game, and it was just another football game. And I think it was kind of not very exciting. Like, it wasn't any higher level than like NFL or whatever. For Army Navy, what I want is I want the Army and the Navy to drop NFL level recruiting money so they get the best players in the United States of America. So every single Army Navy game is effectively a gladiatorial blowout where the United States Army and the United States Navy, if they play somebody else besides each other, they annihilate the other team. And then when they play against each other, it's like watching perfect gladiators destroy each other for our entertainment. I want them to use steroids openly, okay? And until they start doing that, I'm not going to watch.
Hunter Biden was pardoned by his father. He did crack cocaine,
He should have done
and
that.
he had hookers there too.
I'm with you all. I'm with you all.
But then why don't you claim that Biden? Why don't you claim that Biden?
I think Joe Biden in that instance was pro-crime. He shouldn't have done it.
Well,
he
so
shouldn't
he
have
was
done it.
overall pro-crime
shouldn't have
just
done
because he did that.
No,
one.
but Joe Biden didn't just. So if it was just a pardon, then you'd be fine. But I already mentioned there's also the fact that Joe Biden wasn't actually a convicted criminal in office. Trump has committed crimes. Trump hangs around with criminals. He spent much of the 80s hanging around with the New York mob. He hung around with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, that whole that's.
I can keep going.
Jeffrey Epstein lived in West Palm Beach, the area, and that's the closest golf course you can go to.
Do you think?
And he's very,
do you think
very
Donald
rich,
Trump is in the Epstein
so
files?
he paid.
Do you think Donald Trump is in the
As
Epstein
soon
files?
as Trump found out,
Do you think Donald Trump is in the Epstein files?
No, I do not.
What, is Elon Musk lying?
Let me explain this.
Okay.
He lived in the area in Mar-a-Lago, near Mar-a-Lago, so he bought obviously a ticket to go in there.
Yep.
As soon as Trump found out that Epstein had done all those bad things, immediate ban
That's
from
not true,
Mar-a-Lago.
but okay.
Immediate ban
That's
from
not true.
Mar-a-Lago. Yes, it is.
That's not
yes,
true.
it is. 100%.
In fact, Ghislaine Maxwell recruited some of the girls that were abused from Mar-a-Lago.
So listen to this.
From Mar-a-Lago. That's pretty outrageous, right?
Elon Musk tweeted that out in a fit of rage. Okay. Do you really?
Sometimes
Do
people
you
tell
really
the truth
think?
when they're angry.
Do you really
The
think?
truth comes.
In vino veritas, in wine truth. Also, I don't know the Latin word for anger, but I think that there should be a similar saying of in anger truth.
Comes out when people are angry sometimes.
So
we might see that today.
Cash Patel literally said that Elon Musk had no access to the Epstein files. So
Cash Patel said that Epstein killed himself. Do you agree with that?
Whatever he says goes. Then yeah, I don't care.
You do?
He knows.
Cringe, and I'm going to use this as a rhetorical baseball bat to beat the face in of MAGA for the next decade.
Knows more information than I do.
A lot of MAGA people are upset.
He knows
with
more
Cash Patel
information
for
than I
saying
do.
that.
But here's
Why are you voting them out if there's only 60 seconds left?
the actual claim.
Suddenly people are trying to vote you out because you said you agree with Cash Patel on Epstein.
He knows more
All
information
right,
than I do.
Pause. That's time. Please return to your seat.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Biz D says, is there a version of you that would have fallen into their way of thinking if they weren't such repugnant sycophants? No. So I'll tell you real quick. I was in a Jordan Peterson Facebook group in 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. And there was actually a schism in there where the jokes about like race and Jews controlling the world and all that kind of stuff, it stopped being jokes and it started being serious. And I effectively told like the other moderators, because I was like, there were 3 or 4 head admins of the page. And I basically said, like, this is not what I'm about at all. I'm not about this dissident right-wing, anti-Jew, anti-black, anti-Hispanic stuff. I'm for freedom of speech. I'm for making racist jokes. I'm for making anti-Semitic jokes when they're jokes. when the point of the joke is the absurdity of bigotry, when the point of the joke is to say something so repulsive that the repulsive behavior is what's being mocked, not, oh my God, black people are subhuman, or Jews are manipulative lizard creatures, or Hispanics are wild Aztec savages, one alcoholic drink away from, doing like a child sacrifice, And so we actually fought amongst the admins, and the page effectively died because the head admin was siding on the side of like free speech where anything went in the page. And then the other admin actually sided with the dissident right-wing person because, no offense to her, but I think she has schizophrenia. So the page died as a result. But the point being that like there was never a part of me that would be like this, because it's totally contradictory to my temperament, and it's totally contradictory to my entire worldview that I've been raised with since I was a child. So no, I was never capable temperamentally of being like a fascist authoritarian dick sucker. Not possible.
Surrounded is now a podcast of any
Constitution. Pleasure me.
Ooh, my favorite. Fascist guy.
People, as you said.
Return.
now a podcast.
My next claim.
Yeah. Let's go. Fascist, 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 fascist.
Is that Donald Trump is defying the Constitution. Nice to meet
Pleasure
you.
to meet you, sir.
Mehdi, lovely to meet you.
So I would say that with Trump being anti-constitution, I don't really care, to be quite frankly.
Okay.
Because in regards to the Constitution is a document that should seek to serve us.
Yes.
And when it fails to seek to serve us, that can be amended. Laws can be changed. And quite frankly, the fact is, we're defending things in this country that shouldn't be defended. The First Amendment should not defend pornography and making children and women be victimized. Making women and children be victimized as a result of that. I think things like blasphemy shouldn't be allowed per the First Amendment. I think that, quite frankly, there are a lot of legal processes that are enabling criminals and bad people to fully enact their will in this country in the name of the Constitution or following the Constitution. So, quite frankly, if Trump is anti-Constitution, good, and I think he should go further.
So this is wonderfully revealing of the modern conservative mindset. So I appreciate you spelling it out so openly. Just checking, do you support the Second Amendment?
I do.
Okay, surprise! I was shocked to hear that. I'm saying that Donald Trump is defying the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. He's thinking of defying the 12th and 22nd Amendments. You're saying you don't care about the Constitution, but actually you do, because you quite like the Second Amendment. You just don't like the bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
Whenever
the
it's in
Second
your
Amendment.
favor.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
So can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
No, absolutely not. Because
So you don't
it's the
believe in
friend enemy.
democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Listen, guys, I know that me arguing for conservative principles and for Republican principles is boring, and nobody likes it except for a few nerds. But this is why I think republicanism and effectively like authoritarian liberalism, I know those are supposed to be contradictory, but what I mean by that is liberalism with a spine. This is why it's so necessary, is because the mob can be a bunch of sociopathic freaks like this guy. So this guy should get, there's 330 million people in the United States. I think like half of them are of voting age. So this guy should have 1/160 millionth of a vote. And besides that, he should have no political power. Fuck this guy.
Autocracy.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
Donald Trump is not Catholic.
Of course, he's not. I completely agree, and
So
that's
you
part of
support
the problem.
Trump? You don't support Trump?
No, I don't. I didn't even vote for him. I wrote in like John Pork or someone. I can't even remember.
Why did you vote if you don't believe in democracy and you want autocracy?
Well, because quite frankly, I voted.
This is
I kind
fascinating.
of voted just to.
I came with this
troll a
argument,
little
but
bit,
I'm bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this. So
Yeah, absolutely.
how do we get to an autocracy?
I think, quite frankly, that if we are able to enact local leaders,
Who is the we, by the way?
I think, quite frankly, these far-right conservatives sitting right around
White
me.
people?
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
So,
Well,
some of
actually,
you guys.
So hold on. I want to catch that. That seems important.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
how do we get to an autocracy?
I think, quite frankly, that if we are able to enact local leaders,
Who is the we, by the way?
I think, quite frankly, these far-right conservatives sitting right around
White
me.
people?
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
people. So,
Well,
some
actually,
of you guys,
I have quite.
some of the people
I
in this
have
room
quite-
don't make the cut
No,
from what I can see visually.
Actually,
Okay.
hold on for a moment. I do think that there are people who happen to not be white who do actually have history in this country and have roots in this country. For instance, from the
This is where this is so interesting because I feel like fascists, they'll always make this argument about the poor blacks, where they'll take this like paternalistic view of black Americans, where they'll say like, well, we did enslave them and we did drag them to this country kicking and screaming since the 1600s. So while we don't want them to be a part of our society, so they should be segregated away from whites, we do think that they have a historical claim to the United States of America, therefore they can stay. So it's simultaneously like racist and race realist, but they pretend that their paternalism towards the black community is coming out of like some sense of historical empathy. I find it very interesting that like, but that historical empathy only extends up to segregation. And then when you start talking about like, well, should we, incentivize early childhood education? Should we improve schools? Should we make sure law enforcement is working for the people instead of treating them like enemies? Then they're like, no. They have a right to be here, but they have to be segregated and they have to be over there. And we also have to oppress them through law enforcement because they're so inherently criminal. So yeah, that I always find that aspect of like Christian nationalist, race realist, authoritarian politics very weird.
Mexican-American War, we subsumed a lot of territory of people who have far stakes in this country who happen to be Hispanic or what have you. I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white, and should stay that way.
How does the United States, I mean, we've gone so off topic, but how does the United States look like under you? Sorry, what's your name?
My name is, my name's Connor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, nice. His name's Connor too. Great.
A little bit of a doubt there.
Oh, well, I use a pseudonym online.
Fair enough.
But fair enough.
How would Connor's America look? What would it look like?
Well, quite frankly, I think we would deport people who shouldn't be here.
I didn't ask about deporting. What does the government look like?
What does the government look like?
Yeah.
I would say, quite frankly, it's under a sort of benevolent leader, such as
Where does he
Franco.
come from?
It could be a kind of aristocratic class. Could be someone
who picks the autocrat?
Frankly, the people. I mean, we could hold a vote on it. Kings were
Isn't that democracy?
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that stage.
And then no more votes afterwards.
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow. And if that autocrat kills you and your family, you're fine with that?
Well, I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills because that's the whole thing.
How do you know?
Carl Schmitt
Autocrats tend to kill everyone,
Carl
even their own
Schmitt makes
supporters.
this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right?
Carl
liberals,
Schmitt, the Nazi theoretician.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care.
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
I don't. I frankly don't care being called a Nazi.
I didn't say that. I didn't actually say that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
what about the persecution of the Jews?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But you don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution.
We
and stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename
bad,
this show
but-
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you can say, I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
This like laughing sneer. Oh. Listen, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it, okay? This laughing sneer is 100% the same laughing sneer you have before a bar fight where a conversation is contentious, but you're like leading up to the point where something will be said that cannot be taken back and somebody will throw a blow. And so this laughing sneer, I think the reason why it's so unsettling to me, right? So this guy's body language, he's looking Mehdi right in the eyes. He has this sneer. He's engaging in, let's call it banter, but there's also an undercurrent of malice. He's admitting to being fans of some of the most nefarious political ideologies in the history of humanity. And so for me, it's like, okay, you can be that. You can be a fascist. You can be a Nazi. But remember, 2 generations ago, my grandparents dedicated their whole lives to killing people like you. So as long as we're playing nice within this liberal democratic republic, we can play nice. However, if you want to go the way that you want to go, where we start ignoring the Constitution, electing autocrats who are going to end democratic rule, end the republic as we understand it, you have to understand that my grandparents killed people like you, and I would view it as a political failure on my end if I didn't uphold their legacy. I think that's the most sanitized way that I can put it. I think the Republicans and the liberals we should resist this politically, culturally, and socially as maximally as possible. But if this goes that other way, then we shouldn't be afraid of that other way. If anything, we need to get ready for that other way.
Absolutely.
Because these people get off on your anxiety. They get off on your fear. They like that you fear them.
Just checking who's clapping, just to get my set of where everyone is on this. Because you know that millions of people are going to be watching you on YouTube and checking out who the fascists and the...
Old School says 14 million aren't going to die because we didn't provide meds or nets. You really should read. Well, we'll find out by 2030. Here's the good news, Old School. The Lancet 14 million deaths projection. So the good news is that we'll find out the death toll by 2030. So by 2030, we should have some post studies that show us the exact number. And by the way, if this is off by 90%, you understand that if this is 90% off, you still condemned 1.4 million people to death over the course of 5 years. Like, I can't believe how flippant and blasé you are about it, or anybody who I talk to who doesn't care. I can't believe how flippant and blasé they are, because effectively they're like, yeah, 1, it's not going to happen. 2, if it does happen, I don't care. You know, and it's like, all right. So if it does happen and you wipe out 1.5 million people, why should I give a fuck about anything you say in the future where you're moral frogging about dead people? Why should I care at all? Because I care. I care about kids not being born with AIDS. I care about people who have AIDS getting medication so they don't die of a common cold, so they can reduce their viral load, so they don't have active HIV. I care about preventing people from getting dengue, cholera, malaria, etc., so millions of people don't die in abject misery. And I like the fact that as an American taxpayer, all I have to do is pay $36 per year. That goes to a $6.5 billion program that prevents these unnecessary deaths of disease and deprivation. I also like that this probably improves our station within the world, where we can say, yeah, sure, 200,000 people died in the Iraq war, but since 2003, we've saved an estimated 25 million people from horrible disease. And so we can say, yeah, Americans are assholes. Yes, we start wars, but we also save lives. Whereas you're taking that away. So you said, hey, Connor, go get a Chick-fil-A meal, and we're going to let 1.5 to 14 million people die in the next 5 years. So for me, this is another thing. Matt Walsh, who's laughing about this on Twitter, is a fucking ghoul, right? He's a creature that subsists off of the misery of other human beings. This is the way that I see Matt Walsh. He's effectively like a necro undead creature who subsists off of the death and misery of other living creatures. Which, by the way, while he's doing this. He's like wrapping himself in the cloth of Christ. He constantly claims that like his faith, his Christian faith, is his underlying modus operandi, but it's obviously not. And so taking the Lord's name in vain, cloaking yourself in Christ while doing some of the most evil shit imaginable is if there's a hell, that's the fastest path to it. So frankly, I hope there's a God, because I think people like Matt Walsh will be 100% like thrown into the deepest parts of hell. God, I hope God's real.
Nazis are.
I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever.
No, clearly you're not.
During the pre-war period prior to World War II, it was only those parties that properly enacted the people's will. That's why they won. The conservatives were fat cats. They were aristocrats.
Are you in favor of killing people who aren't like you?
Quite frankly, I'm not.
You mentioned Franco earlier. Franco killed a lot of innocent people.
Oh, well, he killed communists. He killed people who raped nuns and killed priests.
What about children who he killed and women who he killed?
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children. He was Catholic.
He only killed combatants. Is that what you're claiming?
Yeah, he only killed combatants.
Franco and his forces, this is from Spain, killed or executed 150,000 people. That includes members of the Catholic clergy who were deemed either liberal or loyal to the Spanish Republic. Interesting.
Killed any innocent people.
The White Terror was only punishing those people who did acts.
LB, wrong again. Leaking sex tapes or revenge porn, question mark. This is in reference to Destiny. Revenge porn is where you publish porn with the intent of hurting the other party. Stephen, to my knowledge, didn't do that. The intent was not to hurt the people. It was to share sexual content with other people with whom he was sexually engaged. I think that's very dumb. I would use the R slur to describe that level of behavior. I think it's degenerate. I think it's stupid. I think that the intent should be morally distinguished.
Of terrorism. And again, are you supporting like raping innocent women? Nuns, dude. Killing priests? I mean, priests don't brandish guns and kill people.
You just refuse to condemn the Nazi Holocaust, my friend. I don't think you're in a position to ask anyone any questions.
I quite frankly don't care what you think about me. If I'm a Nazi and being a Nazi, if being a Nazi means upholding human dignity, because I even believe in your dignity. I don't, in a state that I was running, I wouldn't want to hurt you or anything like that. But quite frankly,
I don't debate fascists.
Okay. So do you concede then? I mean, why?
Do I concede you're a fascist who won't condemn the Nazis?
Yeah.
Yes, I concede that.
Okay, great. So I mean, what are we doing here? Because I mean, you just seem offended.
What you're doing here.
You just seem offended, to be quite frankly. Like
I'm offended by people who can't condemn the Nazis. Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I condemn the evils that they did, but I don't really care about being. Yeah, sure. I don't care about being called a Nazi is the whole thing.
I never called you a Nazi.
I care
you
about
called
doing
yourself
the right
a Nazi,
thing.
a fascist, and a General Franco supporter.
Well, yeah, I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly. Because the whole
and
thing.
You don't believe in democracy.
I don't.
Sorry. Who was super cool?
Care about being. Yeah, sure. I don't care about being called a Nazi is the whole thing.
I never called you a Nazi.
I care
you
about
called
doing
yourself
the right
a Nazi,
thing.
a fascist, and a General Franco.
No, he called himself a Franco supporter and a fascist. However, he is a Franco supporter in that he's like a Catholic, fascist, Christian nationalist. I think the reason why he doesn't quibble about the Nazi term is because he knows that this is so far right that effectively anybody will call him a fascist or a national socialist. But oftentimes, once you get into these circles, their line of argumentation is that National Socialism is a specific iteration of fascism during a specific element in time that was German nationalist, that was, oppressive to the church, that was anti-Semitic, that was rooted in Lebensraum and expansion. And they're going to have like policy nuances where they're going to say, well, I'm not technically a Nazi, because even though I agree with fascism or Christian nationalism that undergirds a form of authoritarianism that's parallel to Nazism, their authoritarianism doesn't have the same policy goals.
Well, yeah, I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly. Because the whole
thing. And
you
don't believe in democracy.
I don't believe in democracy.
Franco, got it.
What are you doing here at a televised debate? This is democracy. It's not about a debate and disagreement.
Because it is the means to support an end. The reason we have free speech now is because we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean upholding free speech after we win. I mentioned
the only good thing about this fascist moment we're in is that you guys are so open about it.
The whole reason I mentioned reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend-enemy distinction. Even liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas. And
true. I perfectly accept this. I accept this. So I don't know everything, so I'm going to let him speak and try to figure out exactly what's going on. But if there's a friend-enemy distinction, I agree with it. I actually think that this is one of the primary differences between me and a nominal liberal, your average brunch liberal, is the fact that I accept the friend-enemy distinction. If you each right to self-defense, limited government as enshrined in our Constitution, then you can either be neutral or you can be a friend. If you reject liberalism, if you reject mixed economy capitalism, if you reject freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, right to self-defense, and limited government as enshrined in our Constitution, then you are an enemy and should be treated as such. Now, within our society, you have rights, and so we will respect those rights as maximally as possible. But as soon as you start flirting with that edge of criminal behavior, we're going to start watching the fuck out of you through law enforcement and through the anti-terrorism apparatus. And then as soon as you actually commit a crime, you should be incarcerated or killed. 100%. If you're an authoritarian communist, if you're a fascist, if you're a jihadist, if you oppose liberal democracy and mixed economy capitalism, fuck you, is basically my opinion on this. So I actually accept his dynamic. I accept Carl Schmitt's description of the friend-enemy distinction insofar as I've described it.
They're willing to punish their enemy. And so I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, if you're going to punish me, I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me. Just that simple.
True. And I will push you to the margins of society and tell you why your ideas are dog shit, and when you cry about it, I won't give a fuck.
I'm not sure what you want to say.
Hey, it is what it is.
All right. Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seats.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
I can't say the same, but thank you.
Let's see that
All right.
handshake.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seats.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
I can't say the same, but thank you.
He actually looks like, I'm not going to lie, Mehdi looks like a little shook. A little shook right there.
Good to meet you, Mehdi.
Good to meet you, sir. All right. So I kind of want to start at the basics or the foundation. I want to see.
Can I just check?
Yes.
Are you a fascist?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I describe myself as, I think, just a Christian.
Fair enough.
I'm a devout Christian.
Good to hear.
So, I want to start, like, what is your connection to the Constitution, and why do you love it so much? Like, what makes it so important that Trump would defy something like the Constitution to you personally?
Great questions. My first connection is I'm an American citizen. I naturalized American citizen, took a pledge to this country, to the Constitution. As a previous speaker has said, Constitution's not perfect. A lot of things I don't like about it. I don't like the Second Amendment. There's a very...
Smash your balls with a hammer, Mehdi Hasan. Cringe.
This amendment, I don't like the way the Senate is set up. I'm sure there's things you don't like about the Constitution. The difference...
Yeah. So this popped up on the fact check thing real quick, and I want to bring it up. So Fung Dark says, didn't they try to recruit a big Mar-a-Lago donor's family member, and that's why Trump had to kick him out? That was fact checked on the side. So Donald Trump claims that he found out that Jeffrey Epstein was trolling for teenage girls and doing all his predator bullshit, and that's why he kicked him out. However, the fact check alleges that the reason why Donald Trump kicked him out was because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to recruit somebody's daughter from the club. So, the allegation is that Donald Trump didn't give a shit when it was middle class and working class girls with bad families from Palm Beach County, didn't care at all. But when it threatened his business, that's when he started to care.
The difference is, I don't think you can just illegally defy the Constitution. I don't think each and every one of us can just make up whatever we want. Certainly presidents who are elected with an oath, right? Donald Trump took an oath to preserve, protect, defend the Constitution. And now when he's asked on television, isn't it your job to uphold the Constitution? He said on NBC, I don't know, which goes against his oath. And I'm identifying specific amendments where he is violating. He's only 6 months into his presidency, defying the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. He wants to defy the 22nd Amendment and be president for a third term. This is the problem we have right now. Free speech is under assault. The free press is under assault. Due process is under assault. The right to be in your home and not be invaded by federal agents, the Fourth Amendment, is under assault. So that, for me, is a problem.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start to say I really don't find the Constitution that important. I find it to be like a 300-year-old document. And
fuck you, homie.
It was created to defy the country that subjugated your ancestors in India. And then your parents probably moved from India to Britain. And then you move here to tell us that we should listen to a piece of paper that you were never even connected to begin with. So I want to say, like, if I don't care about it, why do you care about it so much?
How do you run a country without any kind of laws or due process? And by the way, you do care about it, because without the First Amendment, you wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, I agree with the First Amendment, and I think.
So do you agree with Donald Trump's crackdown on the First Amendment? He's imprisoning people for their speech.
I'll let that slide.
He's threatening free speech media organizations. He's threatening peaceable assembly. These are all rights under the First Amendment. Why aren't you bothered by that as a conservative who claims to love the First Amendment?
So I don't like the First Amendment. I like free speech.
Okay,
so
the First Amendment is what guarantees free speech. I'm from the UK, by the way. I'm from the UK, which is a democracy. We don't have the First Amendment. No, that's one of the things I do like about the Constitution. I wish the UK did have a First Amendment.
So people
I'm a
don't get
journalist.
arrested for praying outside abortion clinics and stuff like that, right?
So you're opposed to people being arrested for speech crimes, I assume.
Well, it depends what it is. If it's like the people.
Oh, so you're like one of the previous speakers. You don't. As long as there's someone who agrees with you, you don't mind the crackdown.
No. I support.
Either we consistently support principles, or we
free
don't.
speech 100%.
Okay.
I don't think anyone.
So do you think Donald Trump is defying the Constitution by cracking down on the First Amendment?
So I think he's cracking down on free speech, like the deportation of Mahmoud Khalil, who was
just released from prison by a judge saying his First Amendment rights were violated.
And I agree with the judge, and I disagree with Trump deporting them. But I think that's more a matter of free speech and not the Constitution.
I think that's pedantry at this moment. I think you've conceded that he is cracking down on free speech, which is the First Amendment. So he is defying the Constitution. So it's a pleasure to be in agreement with you, sir.
All right, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you very much.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm Mehdi.
Mehdi, great to meet you. My name is Kai. Do you, Mehdi?
Hi, Kai. You're the most normal looking one. Please don't disappoint me.
Believe that the Constitution is important and good?
Overall, yes.
Do you believe that that Constitution can be eroded through democratic processes?
What do you mean by erode?
The original intention of the Constitution being destroyed through a purely, democratic or legal process.
I agree with this line of argumentation because I would argue that the Second Amendment has already been eroded by progressive justices within progressive states, like California. I think there's a federal court, an appellate court out of California and Hawaii that has found case law that is just frankly in direct contravention to the Second Amendment. I also think that New York has flagrantly been violating the Second Amendment for decades and is only getting away with it because they're such an economically and socially powerful state. So, yeah, I think 100% democratic means can erode the constitutional rights, 100%.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Okay.
I think if you're democratically amending the Constitution per the rules of the Constitution, that's fine. If we could find a constitutional way to get rid of the Second Amendment, I'd be pro that.
So let's pose a hypothetical wherein the entire population of the United States has drastically changed.
Yes.
And the population now has completely different intentions about what to do with the country. Let's say it wants to give it all back to Mexico, dismantling the United States of America. If that's the case, then what's the use of
Grassroots for 20. He's not a fascist until he says we need state-mandated anime profiles and catboy wives. So true.
The Constitution? It hasn't defended the country. In fact, it's allowed for its destruction.
I don't understand the premise. How did the whole country change?
Demographic replacement, mass migration. I mean, we're seeing a change in demographics, and there's
what is the? I do want to talk about immigration today.
I hope we talk about it.
Everyone's itching in this group to get to immigration.
Yes, sir.
I've saved it. I've saved it for you all. But given we're on the sense of the Constitution, and you asked the question, what is the proportion of immigrants in this country? What proportion of the population is foreign-born?
It's very difficult to measure because the actual projections of the number have been changing more rapidly.
But what is currently the best estimate of official estimate?
I think it was about 15%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just under 15%.
Which is, by the way, more actually than the original estimate was. So
but
we have
15% of the people are going to change the country, change the Constitution. How's that going to work? It's actually a nightmare. As someone who wants to amend the Constitution and get rid of things like the ridiculous way the Senate is set up, or the Second Amendment on guns, or various.
Holy shit, Mehdi! Don't make me pro immigration controls immediately. If you actually made the argument to me that if we continued a 15% foreign-born demographic change, that would eventually result in the repeal of the Second Amendment, I would actually stop immigration. 100%. I'd be like, start having more babies, bitches.
Other things, it's really hard to change the Constitution. They made it almost impossible. You know, last time we had a constitutional amendment,
you know,
like
what?
20, 30 years ago.
I understand, which is why
I think members of Congress pay.
Which is why, no, I get it.
So where are you getting this scenario where 350 odd million people?
Hey, LB, don't be saying that lib progressive bullshit in my fucking chat. So stolen Africans aren't so lucky than white people stole them and made them slaves. Who knew? Google the Kingdom of Benin. Okay, I think at some points, Benin was responsible for 80% of the slave trade in West Africa. The whole thing where white people just showed up with nets and went out into the African tribal landscape and kidnapped black people is bullshit. It's not what happened. The 2 or 3 times that did happen, the Europeans got killed horribly. They got stabbed to death with spears. Okay, what actually happened is kingdoms like Benin conquered tribal rivals and then enslaved those people and then sold the slaves to Europeans. So yeah, go ahead and read the history of Benin. This whole stolen Africans weren't stolen. They were slaves who were conquered by West African kingdoms and then sold to Europeans. Obviously, this is evil. I'm not defending the institutions, but don't come at me with that white people with cargo nets running into the African continent to kidnap random black tribes of people. That's not what happened.
All become foreign-born migrants or the children of migrants, immediate migrants, even though America is a nation of migrants.
Yeah.
And then abandon the Constitution and give the country back to Mexico. Outside of your imagination.
Sorry, what?
Had a constitutional amendment,
you know,
like
what?
20, 30 years ago.
I understand, which is why
I think members of Congress pay.
Which is
like,
why,
it's
no, I
impossible.
get it.
So where are you getting this scenario where 350 odd million people all become foreign-born migrants or the children of migrants, immediate migrants, even though America is a nation of migrants?
Yeah.
And then abandon the Constitution and give the country back to Mexico. Outside of your imagination, where is that?
Which, by the way, I don't want to give America, like Southwest America, back to Mexico. I want to create the Central United States of the Americas, the Northern United States of Americas, the Southern United States of the Americas, and effectively have 3 security and trade cooperative zones, similar to the EU, that then also operate as the greater United States of the Americas, which is basically a, how do I phrase this? A security and economic partnership.
Is that happening?
Let's bring it back to the actual discussion. What you did is
please.
you entertained my hypothetical, but then instead of sticking to the point of the Constitution, you said, "Well, how would you bring about your hypothetical?" And then when I
because you missed out the part where the Constitution is quite hard to change.
Hold on. I understand that. I gave you.
I also wanted to get a sense of where you are, and you're a great replacement guy. So that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, and you're a real good journalist because you don't talk to people who identify as like a political ideology. I mean, that's a very liberal idea.
I don't debate fascists. I'll talk to them,
and
but I won't debate them.
Frankly, that's upsetting. I think there's a big problem when we value freedom of speech so much, but any real journalist is not going to talk to somebody because they identify with the politically incorrect ideology.
Just talk to the guy in front of you. What are you talking about?
You literally stopped talking to him, and then everybody had to vote him out.
Debating versus talking is very different.
Okay.
It's pointless, right?
Okay, yeah,
he doesn't believe He doesn't believe in free speech.
Okay.
He doesn't believe in democracy.
He was freely speaking with you. You're the one
No,
who
he
shut
doesn't.
up.
No, he said very clearly.
Okay,
He said, I
okay.
support free
We'll tone it down.
speech
We'll tone it
so
down.
that I
We'll
can
tone
get
it
one election.
I'll tone it
After
down.
one election,
We'll tone
my
it
guy
down. We'll
comes
tone it
in.
down. We'll
And
tone
after
it
my
down.
guy comes in, nobody gets to
Okay,
speak
that's
or vote
cool.
again.
We all listen to your
Why would I
conversation.
debate that?
We listen to your conversation. Let's
Well,
bring,
I'm
let's
reminding.
Cook Mehdi, cook. Again, I've had my frustrations with Mehdi Hasan's rhetoric. I am perfectly okay with what he just said. Joey Apley says, Connor, in your opinion, what has given rise to this type of emboldened far-right proto-fascist sociopaths, especially amongst younger and articulate youth? Well, Nick Fuentes, let's be real. But I think that, so I would blame two or three things. So I think that these subcultures have been brewing on the internet for a decade. I think the censorious nature of social media through 2022 radicalized them. I think that Nick Fuentes and his ilk, Keith Woods, Nick Fuentes, Cultured Thug, all these like online effectively like conspiracist fascist philosophers have given them the language with which to speak about their ideology. And then I would say Trump has emboldened them, because Trump has proven that the Constitution doesn't matter, legalism doesn't matter, process doesn't matter. As long as you would use populist rhetoric to seize power, then you can still be a viable political figure in the United States landscape. With it, I would say up until now, it was presumed that an authoritarian communist, a socialist, or a fascist would not be capable of seizing power within the United States because our culture was so ingrained and hostile against those ideologies. I think Donald Trump has proven that as long as you don't explicitly say, I'm a fascist, you can do whatever the fuck you want. So I think these people feel like their political proclivities are infinitely more realizable. They're infinitely more likely to be realized than it was even a generation ago, which is why they're happy about it.
And you would have said because you just.
Oh, sorry. Quick shill time. We've broken 100 and change on platforms, which is dope. I appreciate you being here. Please like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat. There's lots of really funny, interesting people there. Comment on the VODs. Please give super chats if you got a whole money burning a hole in your pocket. And yeah, parasocial love to you and yours. Thank you for being here. And I want to I want to thank Megastar for their donation, and I want to thank Grassroots Hegemon for their donation. Seriously, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Let's bring it back to the Constitution.
Please do. First, fourth, fifth, 14th Amendments. Those are the ones I'm saying Trump is defying. Do you support that or do you deny them?
I believe that the Constitution is valuable because it represents particular interests of the founding stock of Americans who made this country great.
Do you think due process is important? Some would say that's at the very core of American Constitution.
And what
Fifth Amendment.
And what I think makes the Constitution function, what allows it to save this country and to actually make it work, are the people who are.
I'm not sure where you're going with this argument.
Hold on. I'll show you.
Is Trump defying the Constitution? That's my claim. You can have these weird hypotheticals.
We're taking it into a different meta, which is what's the function of the Constitution?
I'd rather not have your.
You already did. Yeah,
literally
just 5 minutes ago when you took it to immigration.
Now I don't want to.
Okay. Let's bring it back.
I want to bring it back to the first, the fourth, the fifth, and the 14th Amendments and the 22nd Amendments.
Look,
either you say hold on, you got two very good positions here. One is to say I don't think he's defying them, and I'll say why you're wrong. Or you say I don't care that he's defying them, as one of your colleagues said. In which case, I don't know where this conversation goes because you don't believe in democracy.
And what I think this guy is saying is that the Constitution was established in order to serve the people. So if the Constitution is no longer serving the people, then it should be amended or abolished.
That's fair. Do you think it's wrong to dismantle the Constitution?
So there's two options ahead of you.
No,
do you agree?
This is important.
Do you agree?
What I'm doing
so
is
Donald Trump? Okay, let me ask a question back. Since you're asking me questions, you're not answering the basic point.
Well,
do you think Donald Trump is dismantling the Constitution? Can we agree that Donald Trump is dismantling? Because I'll agree with you on that. I think he is dismantling the Constitution.
I think he's
illegally, unconstitutionally.
I think he's interpreting.
I think Donald Trump is testing the limits of the Constitution, but so far it's held
it in ways that are more.
Which judges do not agree with him on.
Okay, hold on.
Which the Supreme Court has not agreed with him on.
And the judges don't agree with the people who wrote the Constitution.
How do you know that?
Okay, let's take your example of the Second Amendment. Let's say that a bunch of judges.
I didn't give the Second Amendment.
No, hold on.
Fourth, you don't want to talk about the ones I've given.
You're interrupting me. You're interrupting me.
You're ignoring me. First, fourth, fifth.
True. He's trying to explain a hypothetical.
14th, 22nd Amendments. Those are my amendments that I came with today. If you don't want to debate them, just say so.
I'm trying to understand your ideology. You believe that dismantling the Constitution
won't
is
talk about the
okay
first,
when it's
fourth,
about parts
fifth,
of the Constitution
14th,
that you disagree
22nd
with.
Amendments.
You would be fine getting rid of the Second Amendment, even though that would be a dismantling of the Constitution.
No, because it would
Your
be done
problem-
via constitutional means. I'm not.
Okay, if I'm to steelman this guy, just because I feel like they're kind of talking past each other a little bit, what this guy is saying that the Constitution is no longer serving the people of this republic. Therefore, they want to dismantle or modify the First, Fourth, Fifth, 14th Amendment, et cetera, which is arguably morally parallel to Mehdi Hasan attacking the Second. And by the way, I agree with that because I want neither one of these twats to be able to attack the First, Second, Fifth, 14th. You're right. This guy, Mehdi, is dodging because he knows that there's a moral parallel, but he can argue that this guy's perspective is worse. But then it becomes an argument of, well, you and I are doing the same thing. We just disagree on what's right and what's wrong, which makes it less easy to vilify the opposing side. I accept this dynamic. I accept that fascism is another political philosophy. I accept that communism is another political philosophy and socialism is another political philosophy. I just think they're fucking wrong. And I accept the friend-enemy dynamic as described by that guy who was citing Carl Schmitt. If you're a liberal or you're illiberal, but you tolerate being governed by the liberal system, you are either neutral or a friend. If you are an enemy of the liberal system because you're a jihadist who wants to institute theocracy, you're a fascist who wants to create an authoritarian dictatorial state, or you're a communist or socialist who wants to institute, let's face it, like economic policies that are the decommodification of basic human needs and workers owning the means of production, and then a moneyless, stateless, classless society. But in order to institute those economic reforms, you need a revolution or you need an authoritarian government. You're my fucking enemy. I don't need to kill you, but I will oppose you politically. And if it comes to warfare, then we'll go get the guns.
Not the one sitting here, like your pal.
Okay, you have agreed. You have agreed the
I'm
Constitution.
Not the one saying you just get rid of them willy-nilly.
Right,
I don't
now
agree.
We're ramping up.
I don't agree that Joe Biden should come in and say by executive order, if Joe Biden put out executive order saying Second Amendment no longer applies, I can round up everyone's guns. I don't agree with that.
Your result is exactly
I don't
the
agree
same.
with them. No, but I don't agree with the method of doing it. It's unconstitutional.
But the methods are important to somebody who is a Republican, somebody who supports a republic.
That's fine.
He would have been defying the Constitution, and I would have said so, but you can't bring yourself to say so. We've been sitting here for several minutes. All of your friends have seen me ask you several times, do you agree that Donald Trump is defying the First, Fourth, Fifth, 14th, and possibly 22nd Amendments? Your colleague at least admitted
I understand.
that he's defying the First Amendment.
I understand that you came in here.
AKA Batasui says, anyone else can prevent the deaths. It's not America's responsibility. AKA Batasui, you're going to fucking piss me the fuck off. Love you, but you're going to piss me off because I've already said this. If you wanted to do an off-ramp where you say, this is costing the United States $10 billion per year, we don't think that we're going to get a decent return on investment from the African countries that we're assisting, we are no longer interested in conducting this program. Can we get a private-public partnership from Europe or from Asia and private actors in order to take over these programs? We're going to draw them down over the next 4 years. I wouldn't give a fuck. Can you hear me on that? AK at Batasui, whatever, Dr. Zayas, not Dr. Zayas. I don't think I've ever seen Dr. Zayas object to it. Old school, all the right-wingers and the conservatarians. Can you hear me when I say that if we drew down these programs through Trump's term and we transferred it to another organization in order to operate, I would not give a fuck. Hear me when I say this. Now hear the next thing that I'm going to say. We stopped USAID abruptly, meaning we just stopped distributing mosquito nets that were sitting in cargo containers. We stopped distributing food aid that was going to starving people surviving a genocide. We stopped providing retroviral medication that has infected and killed people. So by not doing a drawdown and not doing a transfer of power, we have negligently already killed people. by not having a plan to transfer this responsibility to other people, we will negligently kill an estimated tens of millions of people in the next 5 fucking years. That is monstrous, and it makes me angry. So if you want to come in here, have a good time, that's totally fine. Like, I'm going to try not to be too big of a fucking dick about it. But I think that, like, AK Batasui, I don't know if you're being descriptive or whatever. I think that you have a fucking lizard brain. I don't think that you're actually thinking about the fact that, like, sure, let's just Google AIDS baby. Okay? So I think that if you had to sit here and just watch this kid breathe their last breaths because of because you didn't give a fuck about whether or not they lived or died, I think you would fucking snap psychologically. I think that if you saw 14 million people over the course of the next decade breathe their last breaths, then you would eventually fucking snap. If I forced you to watch the consequences of your policy, I think you would psychologically fucking snap. I see this in my mind's eye. When you say it's not our responsibility, fuck them. You know, not our deal, fuck them. I see these people die because I've seen people die before. I've seen a baby die before. So I know what this looks like. So I don't think you see in your mind's eye what you're actually describing. And I think that if you saw it in your mind's eye and you knew to the extent the human suffering that we are causing, then you would say, okay, I don't think it's America's responsibility anymore, but we should transfer this to other people. We should make sure that we have a responsible drawdown of our foreign aid and somebody else should take it over. And we should make sure that somebody else takes it over. That way we don't unnecessarily kill tens of millions of people. I think that's what you would say. And I think that even the most hardened racist, if I made them sit in a room with people drawing their last breaths through preventable disease, eventually they would go, you know what? This sucks. I don't like this. Let's fix this. So, not trying to be too much of a dick, but you're not the first person to say this to me, and it does piss me the fuck off. It genuinely pisses me off. I don't care who does it. It needs to get done. Zena says there's a decent chance if Dems win in 2028, they'll reinstate the programs. They just have to be done in a way that accounts for impermanence. Yeah. Oh, and then not just that. Where's the food aid? USAID food aid burned. 60,000 tons of food assistance are in motion after reports of incinerated aid. Oh, okay. So 500 tons of aid expired and were burned. And so the State Department took a bunch of shit because there's Middle Eastern and North African people who are dying because we didn't deliver the food aid, and that kicked them in the ass to actually do something about it. Good. But fuck you for making this happen in the first place. All right, anyways, if I keep thinking about it, I'm going to get pissed off, so I'll answer one more question, then I'll get to it. Sacred Snow says, Mehdi soy indignant the internet won't like this take versus the Chad Connor, my grandparents killed fascists, and I will too. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. Mehdi Hasan goes, oh, what's your real name? So people can find out who you are so they can cancel you on the internet, which versus my perspective, which is, listen, say whatever the fuck you want, but if we go that way, we'll go that way. And you're not going to like it.
What you are attempting to do is simply frame this conversation like you did with the first claim about Donald Trump. But then when anybody asks you any kind of question that presses you to the least degree...
No, I answered. I said I would dismantle the Constitution, but I'll do it constitutionally, not by executive order.
So what I'm trying to get to is to prove to everybody who's watching that what you care about is not the Constitution in what it represents or creates. You care about the Constitution only insofar as it allows you to achieve your political worldview.
True. But I would say this is descriptive of all of humanity. Lol.
Agree on that.
No, I care about the Constitution.
You agree with the
because I don't think presidents.
AKA Batasoy says Republicans would advocate for them not having AIDS in the first place. Oh. Like, dude, AKA Batasoy, I'm sorry. I'm about to take a huge shit on you. That's a like you just solved it, bro. You just solved West African AIDS. You just solved the Middle East and North African AIDS process. Just don't have AIDS. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Are you shitting me? Just don't have AIDS. You fucking shitting me, dude? Are you fucking kidding me? Whoa! All right, I'm going to explain this like it's a real point. AKA Batasui, listen, I love you. I know you've donated before, but you just said something so fucking stupid. I have to be an asshole about it. Just don't get AIDS. Okay, let's use our brains a little bit. Let's use our brains a little bit. Okay, my chat has a 3,000 IQ, including AKA Batasui, so they should be able to figure this out. So you're born in West Africa or the Middle East and North Africa, and there's international aid organizations that provide condoms and sex ed so you don't catch AIDS, okay? And so they come to your community and then they say, hey, when you have sex, there's a shitload of diseases that actually infect people with terrible disease, and AIDS is very common in your community. So if you don't wear protection, there's a strong chance that you're going to catch AIDS. And you as a sane West African go, okay, I'll wear a condom, even though it's uncomfortable and I don't like it that much or whatever. When I have sex, because sex is something that humans do, I'm going to wear a condom. Boom, reduces the amount of people infected with AIDS. Then let's say, okay, well, we also don't have STD testing, by the way, because this is West Africa in the Middle East and North Africa. So we don't have STD testing. People just walk around with STDs, okay? And they die of STDs. So you're having fun in your community, whatever, and then you find somebody that you love, and so you decide to have kids. Well, you don't wear a condom when you're trying to have kids, right? So that person inseminates a woman. Well, that person, because they live in Middle East and North Africa and West Africa, where AIDS happens, they pass on HIV to the mother. And now that they've passed HIV on to the mother, it also infects the child. And so the way that people who are not retarded, I'm just going to say it, fucking AKA Batasui, this is the most retarded fucking thing you've ever said in my chat. And it's one of the most retarded things that's ever been said in my chat ever. What Americans who are for foreign assistance say is, we'll provide the sex ed, we'll provide the condoms, we will provide some level of testing, and if you test positive for AIDS, we're going to educate you on how to deal with the disease, and we'll give you retroviral meds so you don't infect new people, and so your kid is not born with AIDS. That's the, and by the way, if you look at like new infection rates, it's a 45-degree angle down. But now what you're saying is, the Republican perspective is just don't have sex. How effective do you think that is as a fucking strategy? How effective do you think it is a fucking strategy to go to West Africa and say, don't have sex so you don't catch AIDS? That's, sorry, Ken, sorry, Mom, sorry, Haircut Commander, sorry. That's the most retarded fucking thing that's ever been typed in my chat. We would advocate don't get AIDS in the first place. Bro, you just solved the AIDS crisis. Why didn't we listen to you in the first place? Just don't get AIDS. Dude. That was this. Sorry, AKA Batasui. I love you and thank you for your donations. Unless you were making fun of someone else by saying that, that is the dumbest fucking thing that's ever been written in my chat. It's actually amazing. Oh, Starhawk says, Connor, when a literal socialist gets nominated as the mayoral candidate for the biggest city in the country, I sleep. I don't sleep. I hope he fucking loses. Fuck him. But what am I going to do? Am I going to go to New York and shoot Mamdani? No. Are you? No. Why are you sleeping? If you care about socialism so much, How about you make the world a better place so people aren't attracted to retarded ideologies? Again, I'm sorry for using ableist language. Ken asked me not to use that term specifically. I'm sorry to my mother. I'm sorry to Jesus. I'm sorry to everybody offended by ableist terms. But the truth is that some of the things you guys say are, despite having 3,000 IQ, I'm trying to impart some of my wisdom to you as maximally as possible. But sometimes you guys say the dumbest shit. And I'm going to respond to it. Just don't get AIDS, Fivehead. Thank you, Haircut Commander. Fucking dude, aka Batasui just solved the whole AIDS crisis. Just don't get it. Just don't get it, dumbass. Why are you getting AIDS? Do you like AIDS? You fucking idiot. That was crazy. That was the craziest sentence I've ever heard. Sorry, I'm scrolling up to, I'm probably like 30 minutes behind on chat. Scroll. Oh shit, I'm really far behind. Where is it? Where's my highlighted chat? Oh, there. Yeah, just don't get AIDS at 5ed. There we go. All right. Back to the content.
Should be fascist dictators and violate the Constitution. That's what I'm saying.
You care?
And he is different. I don't think the president should have the power to lock you and me up if we write an.
Starhawk says, Connor, when some random calls himself a fascist on a podcast, real shit. Guess what? Socialists want the decommodification of basic human needs and workers owning the means of production, which means that food, water, and shelter is free and that you get a stock option when you join a company. Explain to the average working class person why they shouldn't have food, water, and shelter guaranteed to them if they're going to work 40 to 60 hours a week in order to make the economy work, and explain to them why they should be in subsistence living while their fucking CEO rides around on a gold-plated jet ski doing lines of cocaine mixed with sushi off of supermodels. Explain to the working class person why they should barely be able to pay their bills and why they should give a fuck about rich people, caring that they don't get guaranteed food, water, and shelter, and caring about them getting a share of the economic vehicles that they participate in. I know why it's stupid. I know why it destroys economies. I know why it destroys governments, but that's because I study history and psychology and military affairs and the socialist governments of the 20th century. But tell the average working class person why they should give a fuck. And I guarantee you're going to have a very difficult conversation. So that's not on me, Starhawks. That's on all the fucking anarcho-capitalist fucking dickheads who watch people live in squalor and then wonder why human beings are being radicalized into extremist ideologies. That's not on me. That's on anarcho-capitalist, fiscal conservative fucking dickheads. Okay?
An op-ed that he doesn't like. I don't think the president should be able to crack down on us if you and I decide to go protest outside his parade. I don't think the president should be able to deprive you and I of due process or come into our homes without a warrant.
And I think,
well, let's end an agreement then.
All right, pause. You've been voted out.
I'm glad
it's good to meet you. It's good to
meet you, Kai.
How are 14 million people catching AIDS? They're not. I think the estimate for AIDS is 3 million. I think the 14 million total is food cuts, dengue, malaria, and cholera. It's a combination of all the diseases that we are no longer doing preventative work for.
Hey, how are you? I'm Mehdi.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
Nice to meet you.
How are you? So Trump is defying the 1st, 4th,
5th, and 14th, and maybe the 22nd soon.
Okay. So I want to focus on the 1st and the 5th.
Okay.
So you say that Trump is defying the First Amendment. Can you give me an example?
For example, he banned the Associated Press from attending White House events. A Trump-appointed judge said that was against the First Amendment. He's been cracking down on media.
I don't understand how that's against the First Amendment because the Associated Press can still report on whatever happens in the White House. So, I mean, like, if the press briefings are televised, they're still able to execute their duties. I don't understand how that's a First Amendment violation, but somebody could explain it to me.
Media organizations he doesn't like over their speech. If they say stuff he doesn't like, for example,
cracking down how?
So, for example, he banned the Associated Press from attending White House events because they.
Sorry, real quick. Dr. Plague Doctor says, I cannot express how much I hate these xenophobic monsters who claim to be good Christians. I want to be Christian, but if Walsh is a good one, then why the hell would I want to associate with that? I'm going to make this easy for you, Dr. Plague Doctor. Christianity, the fundamental point of the religion is that we all sin, we are all prideful, we are all lustful, we all have temptations within our heart, and we all fall short of the glory of God, right? What you don't have to believe this literally, but there is an ideal human, and we all fall short of that ideal. The whole point of that is to be humble enough to recognize that you are a flawed creature and constantly strive to be the best human being that you can be. And that is regardless of hypocrisy, regardless of what other people are doing, you choose to do that each and every single day. Matt Walsh suffers from many sins that are viewed, what is it? The 7 deadly sins or whatever. I would say, I don't need to Google Matt Walsh. 7 deadly sins. I would say that pride, he is 100% guilty of pride. I mean, we all are, but he's guilty of pride like a motherfucker. Greed, I think he's greedy like a motherfucker. Lust, not so much. Envy, not so much. Gluttony, not so much. Wrath, not so much. Sloth, not so much. But I would say that he's definitely guilty of pride and greed. And then not just that, I think he's guilty of taking the Lord's name in vain, which is effectively cloaking yourself in religion while proclaiming evil. 100%. So don't worry about Matt Walsh. Worry about yourself.
And go to the White House
it's
either.
the Gulf of Mexico. That's not how it works. They were already at the White House. He deprived them of access, so he punished them for their speech.
But
which is
are
why
they
a
allowed
judge,
to go to the press
Which is why a
room?
judge he appointed, Trevor McFadden, said this was contrary to the First Amendment. A Trump-appointed judge. He's called MSNBC and CNN illegal. Media organizations are not ipso facto
But that's free speech.
illegal.
He can call them whatever they want.
Attacking the media
Yeah, he can
by the
attack
president
them.
as the executive?
Yeah, he can
and-
say whatever he wants. That's literally the First Amendment.
He can say whatever he wants.
Absolutely.
But the media can't say what they want.
They do.
But he's going after them. He's suing them. He's using lawsuits to crack down on the press.
They
Presidents
use
have not done that
lawsuits to
before.
give him 34 felonies that Hillary Clinton did.
No media gave him a lawsuit.
No, but
True. Also, those are crimes, not civil actions. So I think she's confusing terms.
people
we're
on
talking
the
about the media.
Democratic side.
We don't talk about the Democrats.
Okay. So he can call them whatever he wants because that's the freedom of speech.
He's
even
threatened to
discourage-
imprison reporters.
He absolutely.
He wants to imprison. He said reporters should go to prison for reporting. He threatened some of them with prison rape. Right? That is against the First Amendment.
Okay. How is that against the First Amendment?
You don't think
Because he's acting as the president of the United States in official capacity, and he's threatening people with punishments that limits their freedom of speech.
sending reporters to prison for
Is he
reporting that he
sending
doesn't
them?
like?
Did he do that?
He wanted to. He said so. I would like them to go.
I would really like to.
So
fly.
other people stopped him doesn't mean he's not defying the Constitution.
So
he
can
also
want,
said if you turn up,
excuse
he-
me,
please.
he can want to do something.
Yes.
That doesn't mean he will or he can.
Okay.
And I think he's very.
Well, I've already
aware
given
of
an
that.
example of something he did do to the Associated Press, but okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the Associated Press isn't allowed in the Oval Office, which is his office. That's his executive space.
Okay.
And they are allowed in the press room, just like CNN, just like The Guardian.
Which he thinks are illegal media organizations.
He can think whatever he
calls
wants.
the media the enemies of the people.
You called him a fascist.
Yeah.
you
Because that's what a fascist does, you fucking dumbass.
can say whatever you want.
Yes.
Yes.
But the
and he's-
president is. I'm not the president of the United States with the executive.
LB. I love you, but I guess it wouldn't be a counterpoint stream without LB pissing me off. Like conservatives, Connor, they spit on the Constitution daily. I don't. I love Burke. I understand and think that fiscal conservatism is descriptively accurate. I think that Jordan Peterson milquetoast social conservatism is descriptively accurate about reality. They spit on the. I don't spit on the Constitution daily. You're saying that because there's bad elements on the right, you have to disavow the entire philosophy. If we do that, then effectively you have to disavow socialism. You have to disavow communism. You probably even have to disavow progressivism for what it did during the French Revolution. So are you going to disavow entire courses of philosophical and political thought because there's bad actors who either misapply the ideas or overly apply the ideas in ways that are cringe and shitty? Probably not, right? So if you're just going to say conservatives bad, conservatives bad, conservatives bad, it's like, no shit. Why do you think I stream, LB? It's because I'm trying to show you the steel man of these ideologies and how they could be best implemented. So hopefully, not only do I attract center-left people in order to see in the best of their enemies so they can work with the people who are not totally unsalvageable, and also hopefully so I can get enough conservatarians and libertarians to stop saying retarded shit like AKA Batasui, who doesn't understand how people get AIDS, and that we can't just go, just don't get AIDS, dumbass. You know, that AKA Batasui, I'm not going to lie. That is one of the craziest shit. That's one of the craziest fucking things. Number one, anyone has ever said in my chat. Number two, I can't believe that you're the one that said it. Number three, I can't believe that you didn't think about it for 40 fucking seconds. Just don't get AIDS, dumbass. It's like, oh, okay. We just solved the AIDS pandemic by just not getting it. Amazing.
Executive
So
power
now, okay,
to
so
crack
then
down on the media.
The First Amendment only applies to the citizens, but not the president.
I never
of the
said that.
United States.
In
Okay,
fact,
so
Donald
then
Trump
he
runs
can
his mouth
say-
more than anyone.
Yeah, absolutely, he does.
And he doesn't just say stuff. As I said, he actually does stuff. He actually does crack down. For example,
LB, I never said the word small government. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You Fifth Amendment.
Yes.
Due process.
Yes.
Judges have actually said you have violated due process.
Yes, except for people kind of forget the Clinton.
Miles Otwell says, do you disagree with fiscal progressivism or just social? Progressivism, as far as I know, or as far as I understand it as an ideology, it effectively means that, like, you know inherently that the world is fucked up, and so you are going to constantly try to reform the world so it's increasingly less and less fucked up. But the problem with that is oftentimes it goes too far. So if by fiscal progressivism you just mean like redistributive economics, no, I'm perfectly fine with some level of redistributive economics in order to make sure that society functions. I would want to achieve a mildly fiscal conservative and social conservative society through necessary fiscal redistributivism, but I don't want to keep doing that forever. And then when it comes to social progressivism, it's the same thing. It's like, should black people be treated like human beings? Obviously. Should Jews not be attacked for virtue of just being a Jew? Obviously. Should trans adults be able to make decisions in line with their, healthcare needs, in line with psychologists, psychiatrists, and doctors? Of course. Those would all be viewed as progressive compared to where modern social conservatives are. But to me, that's just like human dignity. And it does have its limits as well. So, just because I want black people to be treated like human beings doesn't mean that I don't find, do you remember this, where white people kneel before BLM? There was this whole thing where fucking like white people were like taking knees standing in front of black people during like the BLM movements. And I just thought this was fucking, this could be heartfelt by everyone. I thought this was fucking cringe as shit. This specifically, like white people being like, we're sorry for our whiteness, so we're gonna take a knee. What? How about instead of taking a knee, we like fix the problems? I don't give a fuck about your symbolic knee. All right. Anyways, back to it.
And the 1996 Immigration Reform Act, where you can get limited due process when you have expedited.
American citizens?
No.
What about American citizens?
Who's getting deported? That's American.
2 American children have been deported, multiple this year. Have you not been?
No. Their parents have been deported, and their parents say,
No, the
"I'm
father
going
was
to
an
take
American.
my baby."
No.
Was mom legal?
We don't know because they didn't go to court, and the judge.
They
by
don't
the way,
have to go to
by the-
court.
yes,
That's not a part of the due process.
Are you a lawyer?
I'm very aware of it.
Are you a lawyer?
Do I have to be? Oh, we're making an argument.
Are you a
now
lawyer?
We're making.
It's a simple question.
No.
Are you a lawyer?
Appeal to authority.
Okay, we're making an argument.
I'll take that as a no. A Trump-appointed judge in the case, not some Marxist lefty judges you people like to call them, a Trump-appointed conservative judge said it is illegal and unconstitutional to expel or deport an American citizen without meaningful process. He said that in April. So that was an act that Trump did. It wasn't speech. He got rid of an American citizen from the country without process.
So
That's the Fifth Amendment violation.
Since I'm not up to date on that specific
I'll give you
case,
more.
I'm sure you can. So.
Well, you weren't aware that American citizens are being deported. It's a pretty big story.
Yeah, the
maybe if
child
you
that
read the
probably
fake
went
news,
with
you might know.
Burma. What?
If you read the fake news, you might know what's going on. A lot of
True. Where's the psycho blonde lady? I have to assume that she gets on here. All right, we're gonna watch Fedora Guy and Psycho Blonde Lady and the Return of Green Boy, and then I think I'm gonna wrap with that. Because no offense to these other people, but I just know that the memes are gonna flow from these people. So let's go to Fedora Man. All right. Anyways, quick shill time. Like the stream. Engage with chat. There's lots of funny, interesting people here. AKA Batasoy, I'm going to apologize for picking on you. But again, that was like a very silly comment that you made. Super chats if you got them. Memberships if you got them. I parasocially love you. Thank you for being here. Sacred Snow says, man, where was Justin when Jubilee was sending out invites? True. Justin would fucking kill on this panel. All right. Anyways, let's watch Fedora Guy while I catch up with chat.
Nice talking to you. You're going to have to go, bro, is what he said as I left, to an American citizen. Good to know where you stand on immigration.
Randy Chang says you can be pro-Second Amendment and also NYC gun laws. No, you can't. Because the Second Amendment says that you have the right to keep and bear arms. Bearing arms has been rendered a privilege in New York. It's a may issue concealed weapons permit where you have to get a permission from a cop in order to exercise your Second Amendment rights. Wrong again, Connor, under a well-regulated militia. You're just going to fucking piss me off. We know Scrotus is corrupt, though, bribes like the NRA. LB, that's the dumbest fucking thing. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's not the militia that's being granted the right to keep and bear arms. And by the way, the entire way that the Constitution is written is as limits on the government. So once you understand that it's the federal government limiting itself, not limiting the people. Then the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, keep and bear arms. It's not referring to the militia. It's referring to the people. Also, if you look up the definition of well-regulated, it means well-trained. The people having the right to keep and bear arms is a means to an end in which you have a well-trained militia. Also under federal code, there's the formal militia, which is like the National Guard services, and there's the informal militia, which is men 18 to 45, 18 to 40, 18 to 45, and then it's women who serve in the National Guard. So anyways, wrong, LB, wrong again. Just waking up every day to piss me off. It's like your hobby. To be fair, my hobby is to wake up and be pissed off by you, but still.
It's not about immigration, is it? That's what it's not about.
Didn't Arabs sell black people? Yes, they sold a fuckload of them. Yeah, get it, door guy.
Good to see you. How are you?
Not bad. So, what type of immigrants are we talking about?
What do you mean?
Like any immigrants or are
immigrants? That's what I said. Immigrants
are illegal
overall.
immigrants.
Undocumented immigrants also contribute
Illegal.
greatly to the U.S. I say undocumented. I don't think people are illegal.
So, let's put it this way. I mean, I'm an immigrant too, from Iran.
Okay.
There isn't even
How
a
do you
U.S.
feel about the fact that people here want?
Did I just blame black people for their treatment by whites under slavery? No. Are you creating new sentences? I said that white people didn't go into the interior continent of Africa and kidnap blacks. Black folk went to war with other black folk, kidnapped black folk, and sold them to white folk. That's what I said. I literally think you invented a new idea.
You out? Are you okay with that?
I'm here to debate you, not debate them.
I mean, you're all on the same side. You're part of one group.
No.
You've been clapping each other.
No, I mean, there are conservatives here, there are far-right people here, there are Republicans
But how do you feel about that guy wanting me and you to leave?
But, you know, let's
I'm just
stick-
wondering. Wait, this is the topic of immigration.
It's not
how do
about
you feel
my,
about the
it's
guy?
not about my feelings towards them.
Okay.
It's about staying on this topic.
Okay.
And talk
Immigrants are
about-
good for America, yeah. You and me, we're good for America. And the guy...
LB says many of them were shanghaied too. Nope. Nope. Wrong. Gambia, Benin, West African nations went to war with their other people. 90 to 95% of the people were kept as prisoners of war and sold into slavery by African kingdoms. It's just true. Don't make shit up. And by the way, slavery was and is wrong and everyone knew it. Okay. And how you guys just like, I say something that's true. Like, the majority of slaves who were kidnapped and sold in West Africa were, kidnapped and killed and enslaved by other West African kingdoms who in turn sold them to, somebody brought it up, the Arabs and the Europeans. And then you guys are like, yeah, but didn't you know that slavery is evil? And it's like, yeah, no shit. And then you're like, didn't you know that white people treated black people bad because of the Bible? And it's like, yeah. I never said anything to the contrary. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, you guys just love to piss me off.
Guy over there wants us to leave, so I'm just wondering how you feel about that.
So I believe that there has to be strict immigration laws.
Okay.
We have to make sure that the people are coming here have the good intent of the United States in mind.
That's not my claim, but okay.
So
my claim is about immigrants are net
if,
positive.
If we just open our borders to every single person
No
that
one
wants
calls
to
for
be
open
here,
borders.
that claims that they have economical hardship in their country.
Who's calling for open borders?
No, I'm just saying,
Or you're just a straw man, so you're just saying a straw man.
No, I'm saying
you're
that
wasting time with a straw man. No one's calling for open borders. I didn't call for open borders.
You wasted
I said
time.
immigrants who...
You wasted time trying to cause division between me and my friends
division?
over
He
here.
wants you to leave the country. That's a pretty big deal.
All right.
I mean, you can ignore
Like
it,
I
but
said-
that's your side, my friend.
Like I said,
You
you were
made
the
your
one
bed.
that tried to derail this argument.
Derail?
By bringing that.
It's
Even
literally
though we're
core to my
trying to-
argument. I'm saying immigrants are good to America.
Azrai says, I wish that evil intentions and actions would age people IRL like the dark side of the force. They do, Azrai. So does hard work and stress. So you can't presume just because somebody ages shittily and quickly that they're a immoral person. But immoral behaviors, the word degeneracy actually is a physical term. Like 200 years ago, degeneracy was understood as a physical term. It was behavior that physically and spiritually degenerated you. So yeah, don't be degenerate.
America, people on your side are saying we should leave. Not me.
And
me and
I
you.
asked you, what type of immigrants are we talking about? Are we
Immigrants
talking about
overall.
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 So
I mean,
And I'm talking about immigrants who, I'm happy to embrace immigrants who positively contribute to American society, who believe in its principles and ideals and constitution. I will fundamentally reject jihadists, fascists, and communists, and any ideology that is opposed to the United States as it presently exists. And they can fuck off.
So
you
you
want to
believe-
you want me to get into like particular communities? I'm not playing that
So
game.
you believe that people that come here without
Overall,
any
help
respect,
the society.
without any respect to our laws and our border, are going to be good for this country?
No, of course not.
So you can't say that all immigrants overall.
I never said all immigrants.
Well,
I said
you said-
immigrants overall. Immigrants overall doesn't mean all immigrants. Sorry to break that to you.
All right. So we have to make sure that the people are coming here have the good intent of this country in mind.
Agreed.
Agreed?
Yes.
All right,
Irrelevant
good.
to my claim.
But when
agreed.
you have undocumented immigration going on,
Yeah.
you can't vet that. You can't make sure about that. Let me real quick, talk about my background. There is no the American embassy in Iran. So in order to come here, you have to stay in line for 4 years, and you have to go through some serious vetting procedure to get here. But I made it. And that process has to be in place because you don't want terrorists
But I'm
to
hold
fill
on.
this
I
country.
made it too. I'm an American citizen. I went through lots of vetting. I took my test.
And by the way, based off of based off of the early Islamist Mehdi Hasan clips from like the 2010s, I hope the State Department vetted the fuck out of him. Because if I saw some of that shit and if those were earnestly held beliefs, I would have rejected his citizenship 100%.
That's how
But
that's
the
how
guy
it
over
should
there
be.
wants us to leave.
But
he wants us to leave.
When people
So people don't really care about vetting, do they?
But
it's not really about vetting, is it, my
But
friend?
people should not have
You're
the
in denial.
right. People should not have the right to ignore our borders and our laws.
What about those
to
of us who
come here.
don't ignore the borders? Should we get to stay?
Of course.
But he says we shouldn't.
Well, I'm not debating him.
You kind of are because you're all together on this.
No, I'm debating you.
Okay. And I'm pointing out to you that your argument is in bad faith because these guys are actually speaking the truth and you're in denial about who's on your side. He wants you gone.
I never claimed that I'm on their side or they're on my side. I'm here to debate you.
All right, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please
Thank
return.
you.
He got voted out like a motherfucker because he wasn't sufficiently fascist. That's pretty funny. Let's fast forward to Psycho Barbie. This chick is a fucking lunatic. I'm probably going to watch Psycho Barbie and then The Green Guy again, and then we're probably going to wrap this segment. Let's do it. What's up with the world state stuff? I want states to exist. So Patriarch is asking about my about my plans for the world. So, like I was saying, like I want regional powerhouses like the northern United States of America, the central United States of America, the southern United States of America, and then the greater United States of the Americas. I would also like it if the European Union followed suit, and also like there were individual states like Germany, France, United Kingdom, etc. But then they all had a security and military and economic apparatus that protected the overall structure. And then I would effectively want those to regionalize. So you wouldn't abolish nation states. And if nation states wanted to stay ethno-religiously homogenous, I wouldn't give a fuck, right? As long as they didn't attack their neighbors, I don't care. But then the whole point is to have that superstructure so we can unite as a planet, so we can start space colonization. So, dude, if you have like some particular country, like you're like, oh, I love Poland. I want Poland to remain Polish with 99% ethno-religious linguistic Poles. I don't give a fuck, but the Poles should still be a part of NATO and the EU for and should still be able to determine their immigration policy, by the way. But for economic and security cooperation, there should be some kind of apparatus that allows them to cooperate for economic and security benefits.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You too. So why do you
This bitch is a psycho.
say this is Donald Trump's plan? Why do you think that?
I mean, he says it's his plan. Have you seen his plan?
When
Have you
did
heard
he
his plan?
say it?
He said it standing next to Benjamin Netanyahu in January, February. He said it on Fox News in an interview on Fox. He said it on Air Force One when he was chatting to reporters.
Word for word, what's an example of what he said?
Word for word, he said, for example, we're going to clean out the Gaza Strip. He said they're going to leave. We're going to take control of it. He said.
Okay. Finally caught up with AKA Batasui. Says, I'm not saying at all to fuck him. I think you're saying. I'm saying you can't just lay all the blame on Trump. Yeah, I can. After 14 million die, if no one else steps up, you can go as hard as me on you want. No, I can blame him. I can blame him 100%. He cut the program. He didn't coordinate any other like delay. He didn't step up to the plate, et cetera, et cetera. Europeans are going to have the same argument. They're going to say, this is the United States problem and it's Africa's problem. It's not our problem. Russians are going to have the same argument. They're going to say, this is America's problem and Africa's problem. Who gives a shit? Chinese are going to say, lol, laugh my ass off. America is going to piss off the entire African continent. Fuck them. So no, the ball is going to get dropped, and I can blame Trump 100% because he's an incompetent person who should have never been given the reins of power. Wrong. I can blame him. It is at his doorstep. That blood is on his hands.
Says, we'll own it. I would own it, he says. I'm not sure under international law how he can own a foreign piece of land. And when he was asked on Fox News, the people, the Palestinians who are being forced to leave, would they be able to come back? He said, no, they wouldn't. That is the literal definition of ethnic cleansing, according to a UN definition of ethnic cleansing.
Why do you think that Trump is...
I think they're talking about Gaza specifically, that Trump volunteered to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
saying this? Do you think that he has some personal interest in cleansing Gaza, or do you think there might be some special interest group or perhaps religious or ethnic group that's, that maybe he received money from them and that's the whole reason why he wants to cleanse Gaza? Or why do you think that is?
I don't do Donald Trump's motivations. I really don't care. My claim is that what he's doing is ethnic cleansing.
Well,
do you agree with that?
I would actually, probably agree, but I'm just...
You agree that it's ethnic cleansing? You agree with doing ethnic cleansing?
No, I don't agree with it, but I agree that's probably his plan. But I'm trying to figure out, why do you think that is? Because Donald Trump's a white man. He identifies as Christian. I'm not sure if he really is. Well, what interest...
She's coming up in order to say, hey, Mehdi Hasan, can you blame the Jews for the ethnic cleansing in Gaza? Can you say that our government is currently co-opted by AIPAC and the Jews? That's what she's getting at. I think that's actually pretty funny. That she's like, hey, yeah, I agree with you. Ethnic cleansing is bad. Can you blame the Jews, though, real quick?
Interest does he have in preserving a Jewish ethno-state? Why would he have that?
It's a good question. You'd have to ask Donald Trump that question. I've got multiple views. I'm sure you have many views. I'm not sure I like where you're going with your views, but I think Donald Trump is definitely someone who's got financial interests in ethnic cleansing. He's got political interests. He loves the evangelical voters he get. A lot of Christian evangelicals like to support Israel because they think Jesus will come back if all the Jews are gathered in one place with no Palestinians. I think he's going to make money, he thinks, from beachfront property with Jared Kushner. He said something similar in the past.
You think that's the real reason?
I think there's multiple reasons, yeah. I think financial, geopolitical, ideological, evangelical. I don't even care. My claim is that what he's doing is ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing is a war crime according to the Fourth Geneva Convention.
Yeah, I agree.
It's against international law under the Rome Statute. So we shouldn't be part of that. The United States should not
The point flew right over Connor's head. Feel free to re-explain it. The point flew right over the head. AKA about a story. We could go back and check the fucking tapes, but the tapes were basically like, don't get AIDS, dumbass. That was the point. So feel free to steel man yourselves if you feel straw manned.
Not be supporting Donald Trump's plan for
I agree.
ethnic cleansing.
I agree.
Good.
What do you
That's
think?
been
What do you think should be done instead with the Israel-Gaza situation? I'm not sure what your stance is on this.
I would like to see a ceasefire in Gaza.
Two-state
I would like to
solution
see. I
type
don't
thing.
really get into debates about what solutions. I would like to see an end to the killing. I would like to see Gazans.
Ooh, why don't you get into the details, Mehdi Hasan? Is it because you want a one-state solution that's Palestinian majority? You son of a bitch. I'm screwing around, but you know. Whenever somebody doesn't just own their shit, I always get skeeved out when they're like, oh, well, I just want the genocide to stop, but I don't want to get into descriptions about what I want. Then it's like, oh, okay. You want a one-state Palestinian majority solution. Gotcha. Okay, cool. You don't want to own it, though, because you don't want to be accused of anti-Semitism or being anti-Israeli. Got it. I already know what you think. You could just say it. Make the conversation easier.
Have freedom. I would like to see the Palestinians in Gaza somehow get their land back. 80% of Gaza right now is under Israeli military control or displacement. I would.
Beef Supreme says, Connor, you need to explain this to Republicans. No shit. Why do you think I stream 5 hours a day? Listen, I might have a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 liberal audience because I collaborate with liberals and lefties all the fucking time. But the whole point is to become big enough that I create my own orbit, my own well of gravity. And then as a result, I can attract libertarians and conservatarians who stop being fucking stupid. That's the point.
Would like to see freedom for the Palestinian people. I'm an American, to go back to the core.
The problem is if you, oh my God, AKA, you're going to trigger me again. The straw man is if you have AIDS or HIV, probably should try to prevent spreading it. These people don't know they have fucking AIDS because they have unprotected sex and they don't have STD testing, so they don't even know if they have AIDS or HIV. Do you think that they knowingly, they're like, oh, I got AIDS or HIV. I'm just going to go spread this around. Lol, laugh my fucking ass off. Just going to go spread AIDS today. Or do you think that they're socially and economically destitute to the point that they can't afford a $50 or $100 test for fucking STD testing because the $50 or $100 is probably like a month's worth of income? Let's go ahead and take a look at what is the country with the highest AIDS concentration on the planet? Swaziland. 30% of the fucking country has HIV. Okay. What is the annual income in Swaziland? So it's $55,000 of their local currency, which is approximately $3,000 USD. However, this is an average, and salaries can vary significantly based on factors like job title, experience, and location. Some individuals may earn as low as 11,000 Swazili, whatever. So that's 1/5 of the average income, while others earn up to 240,000. So let's say 55,000, which is $3,000. Let's just use that first. So let's divide $3,000 by 12 months. So that means that they make $250 a month. Now, I don't know what STD testing costs in Swaziland, but I know in the United States it's normally around $100. Okay. So you're talking about half a month's income just to find out if you have a disease. How often do you think Swazilanders take STD tests? Or do you think they just say, fuck it, a third of the population has HIV. I don't know when I'm going to live or die. I'm poor as fuck. I live in West Africa. I'm just going to live my life and do my thing. How many Swazilanders do you think take that attitude where they just say, fuck it? Do you think it would be nice if we gave them, condoms and sex ed education, and if they got AIDS, we made sure that they didn't pass it on for $36 a year per taxpayer, I would say that's good. I think reducing the amount of people who die from AIDS is good for $36 a year. That's my argument.
Core of this show, I support American values. One person, one vote. Free speech.
It really is a religious and ethnic battle.
It is not a religious battle.
Well, yes,
No, it's
that
not.
is what it's
No,
obviously
it's
between
not.
Jews and Muslims
No,
both
it's
want
not.
control of the Holy
No,
Land.
it's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh no, I agree with the Nazi. Fuck.
No, it's not.
What else? What other?
Actually, the founders of Israel were secular. They were not religious, actually. And I think some religious Jews, like Bezalel Smotrich, who's the Israeli government minister,
religious, it doesn't really
is
matter.
a religious fanatic.
My
but that
point
is
is,
not, no, the core of the conflict is over land. It's colonial.
It's
AKA Batasui says, does it save more people? Yes. We're estimated to have saved 23 million people over the past 2 decades. Yes, it saves people. Jesus Christ.
Historic. It is not about religion.
Colonialism is for a reason.
The
like,
people who want to steal the land want everyone to believe it's
My
religious.
point is, why are we sitting here? Why are we sitting here? It's like a false dichotomy where we have to argue, like, do Jews get Israel? Do Muslims get Israel? Why are we?
I've never brought up anyone's religion.
How many of us?
I didn't bring up anyone's religion.
How many of us here are Christians?
I didn't bring up anyone's
trying
religion.
to pick sides between Jews and Muslims taking over Israel. Like, don't you think that?
Hold on. First of all, I didn't bring up religion. Second of all, you know,
the straw man isn't getting AIDS; it's spreading it knowingly. I don't even think the Swazilanders, where 1/3 of the population has AIDS, I don't even think they're like, sick, I'm gonna catch AIDS today, and then I'm gonna spread it around, lol. Do you think sex ed would help these people or not? Do you think it would reduce it or not? Because I have a very, let's just Google it. Does sex ed work? Does sex ed reduce STDs and pregnancy? Yes, comprehensive sex education has been shown to reduce rates of sexually transmitted disease in teen pregnancy. So there you go. Amazing. It turns out the programs that we did something. Maybe they weren't the most effective programs on the planet, but they still did something. Thank God.
I know that a lot of Palestinians are Christian, right?
Some of them.
You're just
yeah,
reducing
it's
it to
very
Muslim
small.
versus
Well,
Jew.
it's majority Muslim. Yeah, it's very.
But there are many
yeah, I agree. Yeah, but there's not that many.
So it's not worth reducing everything to religion.
Well, it is the reason. Why do you think Iran is backing proxies that want to take over Gaza and back the terrorism in Gaza? It's obviously because they want to Muslim control of the land. You don't think that's why?
No, I don't think it's about religion. I've been following this conflict for decades. It's not about religion. People who say it's about religion, it's a distraction.
Well, it's a big part of it.
No, I think it's religion. I think Islam doesn't want to tolerate a Jewish supremacist state. I think they don't want to tolerate the Holy Land being controlled by a religion different than Islam. You can say it's also geographic. You can say it's also economic. You can say it's also all these other things, but I think religion absolutely has a part to do with it. Shit, the primary places that they fight over are religious symbols. Like I have no idea why Mehdi Hasan would reject this line of argumentation. I don't get it.
I think
it's become a big part of it. It's been weaponized by bad faith actors, sure. But I don't think that's the core. The core is that one group of people are dominating another group of people.
What group of people is it? But what group of people is dominating another group of people?
One ethnic group is dominating another ethnic group.
What ethnic group?
I was actually about to say Jews aren't a singular ethnic group. They're an ethno-religious group, but that's because sociology is hard.
Jewish people.
Yes, dominating.
Arabs.
Yes.
But I didn't say anything about Christian, Muslim, Jew.
Sorry, memes. Daggerung says, am I going to shoot enter politician's name? Pregnant pause. Well, I had to think about it. No, I'm not. Nice.
In a religious sense.
Okay,
Jews define as religion and ethnicity. You know that, right?
Well, why do you think that Muslims want control of the Holy Land?
You keep saying Muslims. I didn't bring up Muslims.
Well, they're Muslim states. Like, what do you think? Like Iran wants to do with the Holy Land?
I didn't bring up Iran.
But that's part of the conversation. What do you mean?
No, it's not. The conversation is Donald Trump is doing ethnic cleansing, and you agree with me. So I'm not sure why you're still here, to be honest.
It's part of the larger context.
It's a weird
of the
debate when you actually agree with me.
What I was trying to say is we kind of have this false dichotomy here where we're trying to take the side of the Gazans, which mostly it's a Muslim majority, or the side of the Jews to try to decide who gets control over Israel.
I didn't say about control.
America is a majority Christian country. Should we be deciding Christians should have control of the Holy Land?
Donald Trump should nothing to do with religion. Donald Trump should not be deciding what happens to Gaza. That's my claim. If you agree with me, great. Let's shake hands. Give the seat to someone who disagrees with me.
Yeah, Mehdi is trying to keep the debate super limited in order to, win the arguments. Which, by the way, good for him for being a decent rhetorician. Honestly, like I find some of his rhetorical tactics like abhorrent and dog shit. However, like I do appreciate the talent. I do appreciate the skill. Greg Jedi says, if Mandami's policies do well, will you give him credit even if you dislike his political beliefs as a whole? We'll see, right? So, for instance, if it's something limited, like we're going to create certain zones within New York City for the working class where these folks are going to have better commutes to their working class jobs, that's something that I support. So yeah, of course I'm going to support that. But if Mandami says we're going to do state-run grocery stores and then they all fucking close within, they're like open and successful for like the first 2 or 3 years, but then they all close by year 6, then yeah, of course I'm going to criticize the fuck out of that, right? Starhawks for $5. Thank you for your donation. Says, my point was you seem to have different standards for the right and left when both advocate to violate the liberal principle you and I care about. I don't know what you mean by that. You would have to give me a specific example of when they talk about violating the liberal standards you and I talk about. I'm always for freedom of speech and freedom of conscience. I'm always for the Second Amendment. I'm always for the 4th, 5th, and 14th, right? So I don't know what standards you're talking about that seem hypocritical. I actually don't. Cameron Mosley says, funny little story. Connor, my parents and I were on our way to Cleveland because a family member of ours died, and I saw a Tim Pool billboard the way there. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, dude, he's big. I have not read anything by Eugene Debs, Dominic Galata. All right. Anyways.
I think that America should just cut ties with Israel altogether.
What's your definition of cut ties?
Like stop funding them, stop being their military arm.
Yes,
okay,
I'm on record saying
okay.
That was an easier debate.
Let's go.
Whoa. Welcome back, Richie. You really want to be here?
First of all, I really thought that obviously where we started, where it ended up, there's a lot of aggression. I can see in your eyes there's a level of exhaustion from being here. This is where my empathy comes in. Where it doesn't is, when you have a room full of people that do agree with you, we have this opportunity to come together. And you're kind of mocking people when they do. So you mock Sarah a little bit when you.
Sorry, I do want to hear Green Guy, but I'm also trying to engage with chat. I know that I should break them up more intermittently, but truth be told, I'm getting exhausted, so I'm getting a little sloppy with my stream habits. eDreamcast says, what right-wing policy or ideology do you consider far more helpful to the working class than the left has ever implemented in history? I don't think the right wing oftentimes fights for the working class. I think the only thing that the right wing has done correctly is kept markets and the free market as a central supporting structure of the United States of America. However, it's a balance, right? It's a balance between workers' rights, workers' benefits, and economic vitality. So I would view the left as arguing for workers' rights, workers' benefits, decent pay, all that kind of stuff. I don't think the right wing has ever done that. However, I think the right wing saying that the free market is the cornerstone of functional economies is just fundamentally true.
You guys clearly had a common interest and goal to reach, so I can tell you're agitated. I want to bring that all down, please.
I'm guessing you're not going to, but let's see.
No, I'm going to. I do want to point out some contradictions. First and foremost, I don't believe you're pro-American in the value system that you claim to uphold, especially with free speech, if you're not willing to debate people that don't share your values. That's very un-American.
Donald Trump's plan for Gaza is ethnic cleansing.
I don't believe it's ethnic cleansing, but I because it's not his plan.
It is his plan. He said it's my plan.
No, Benjamin Netanyahu called it his plan. He is obeying someone else's plan.
Okay.
Who is he obeying?
The Jews.
He is obeying Israel's plan for the Greater Israel Project, of which this is one of those things that we can agree on.
Why is he doing that?
Why is he doing that? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they have something on him. Maybe they have something on all Americans.
But you think it's a bad thing what he's doing?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
no,
Glad to agree with you.
But see, I don't want to shut down
I'm
the
not mocking
conversation.
you, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, perfect. But I want to take this opportunity because I don't know if I'm going to get the opportunity again to say, you're not American. First and foremost, but you're not.
Remember what I said? The agitation from you is not going to be lower.
What I'm saying,
you came to lower the temperature and then make racist remarks. You know that's a racist remark.
It's not racist.
You tell an American citizen.
But okay, perfect. You just proved your own point.
What?
You just said that was a racist position.
Yes.
Earlier, you argued this contention that America has no race. It's a bunch of immigrants that culminate together into
America has no race.
You inferred it. You absolutely did. Okay. So now you're saying it's.
You implied it. I'll point this out for Gen X, even if she's not here right now. He used infer incorrectly. You implied it.
Racist for me to take an American nationalist approach. You're kind of
an American national approach. Is that a white approach?
I think it's a white nativist approach. Of course,
only Americans are white people.
Why did your parents immigrate from
Americans
India?
only white people.
Why did your parents immigrate from India to the UK?
Because the UK colonized and conquered India.
Okay, why did you immigrate to America?
Because many reasons.
Okay, all opportunity. There's opportunity.
That's not true. You don't know.
The accent. Your accent is an affect of white Anglo-Saxon.
But you know there are 50 million Americans in this country.
I understand, but
none of them are Americans in your view.
What I'm trying to get you to do to reach a common ground here.
We're not going to reach a common ground because you said I'm not American.
Please try.
I don't think you're American.
I'm saying you're not.
I don't think you're American.
I'm saying.
I hope this is a rhetorical strategy because he's trying to point out something about Americanism, but I don't think calling a native-born American not American is an actual point. I think he's trying to rile him up and piss him off. And I'm also curious as to what this guy's going to say, because even if you disagree with it, you can still hear what he's saying, so you can logically contend with the concept. So that's... Okay, as a matter of fact, I want to steel man this real quick. America, or the United States of America, is a propositional nation. We started our country with a proposition. We were an English colony at first, and then in 1775, 1776, we rebelled, and we created a country with a proposition. And the proposition was the Declaration of Independence. You know, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they're endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know if I got that preamble correct. However, I think I got it mostly correct. So with that, within the ensuing decades, we came up with the Articles of Confederation, and then ultimately the Bill of Rights. And these are our attempts to make sure the government doesn't abuse the people out of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so any person, any human being on the planet, Black, Asian, white, Hispanic, they can agree to that proposition, immigrate to the United States, and then work not just for their life, their liberty, and their pursuit of happiness, but they can also make sure that the society that supports them in those endeavors perpetuates. That's what I love about the United States. I love it as a propositional nation. I love it as civic nationalism. I love it that I'm Irish, right? You know, 200 years ago, my ancestors were slinging rocks at British troops from their mud hovels. And here I am in the United States of America, effectively the lost continent of Atlantis, making money by talking shit on the internet, which is a marvelous technology that's only come about in the past 30 years because of human ingenuity. I love this. I think this is the coolest shit on the fucking... I think this is the coolest thing in the world. And so I want to perpetuate it. I am a propositional person. I am not ethnically English. I am ethnically Irish. I am an enemy to the English in many regards from an ethno-history background, and yet Anglos and Celts get along in the American project. That was unthinkable 200 years ago. That was unthinkable 300 years ago. So when somebody tells me a Black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, they can't integrate into America, I think they're full of shit. I think they're fucking wrong, and I don't like it. Anyways, so Justin for $10 says, good morning. Mehdi cooked everyone except for Kai and Connor. Glad you're finishing up with Nick and Candace about time. True. We're going to do it today. I promise. But I am going to finish up with this green guy. So anyways, thank you for the super chat, Justin. Much appreciated.
I think you're not American due to values.
I don't think you're not American on values either. I think you're a little fascisty, a little racisty.
See, you're using these words. Okay, first of all, I want to say this.
I'm not just throwing them at you. You didn't come sit down. I said it.
Every conservative that has ever been shut.
Judge not lest ye be judged. No, I'm gonna judge the fuck out of it because I'm not a Christian literalist. Lol.
down by leftists like you, for every conservative, for
You're
every
not a conservative. You've already said
for
you're not-
every
you-
right
you've
wing,
already said you're not
for
a
every
conservative.
Stefan Molyneux,
Oh,
Thomas
more white,
Sowell,
okay.
Nick Fuentes, all of those people.
Is
that
Thomas
people
Sowell
like-
American?
He's Australian. But that's not the point. I'm saying people that are on our side of the aisle that get shut down by people like you because you're leveraging this position of emotion.
You're joking, right?
No, I'm not. You're
Do
leveraging
you know
a
nobody on
position
quote
of
unquote
emotion.
my side of the aisle is trying to deport you? The only shutting
Actually,
down
yes,
is being
they're
done by
trying to.
you.
They're actually
The only
trying to
shutting down is being
genocide my
done by
entire
you.
race. So what are you talking about?
Wow.
What
You're
are
a
you
white,
talking about?
You're a white
What are you-
genocide guy?
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
I can't wait to hear this. Let's go.
You know the fact you're
I'm
Indian.
amazed that Jubilee find some of you guys. How did they find you?
Do you see
Did
what
they
you're
email
doing?
you? Do you have Gmail?
Why are you trying to oust me? This
Do you
is
shop
such a
at
cheap
Costco?
tactic.
Do you go to Nordstrom?
No,
All
I'm
immigrants.
trying
Have you
to-
ever been on eBay?
No, but
Immigrants.
I'm
You love
agree-
immigrants.
No, I'm agree-
You love immigrants when they're helping you.
I'm
You just
not-
don't like the color of my
it's not
skin.
we're having a different.
No. I would appreciate if Mehdi listened instead of just fucking playing the race card. Whenever somebody plays the race card, you know what's more rhetorically effective, at least I find it more interesting, is where you go, okay, so like explain your ideology. And if it's racist, then just be like, yeah, it's racist. I find that infinitely more interesting when people just bite the bullet about their ideologies having negative externalities. I think that's so much better.
All right,
It's a white
pause.
genocide.
We're having a different
Pause.
conversation.
All right, you've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Okay, I really wish we could have gotten.
I mean, you believe in white genocide, so it's very hard to.
But is believing that white people are becoming a plurality within the United States of America and eventually might become a plurality in Europe, and that the white demography over time is going to decrease as people miscegenate, which, by the way, I'm not using as a negative term. Is that like, even if you use the term white genocide, like, contend with the idea, contend with what's being said, which is effectively like, I think that there's something special about Europeans and I don't want them to disappear from the planet. And then you could start to piece apart like, okay, well, what about these things are inherent to Europeans but are not inherent to humans? And what you often find is that what white genocide people contend is that, oh, well, I like our history, or I like our culture, or I like our dancing, or I like this idea or that idea. And you find that oftentimes these ideas, while not fungible, meaning that not every population is going to hold these in equal regard, they're ultimately just human conceptions. And so you're not losing them by having a white son who has, mixed race babies with a Mexican woman, or a black woman, or vice versa. You don't lose the human component just because people race mix. Kind of cringe. Anyways, in summary, I think Mehdi Hasan did a good job. I got frustrated with his rhetoric because he kept interrupting. I don't feel like he contended with the most important and foundational and complex ideas of the far-right people. I was happy to see a bunch of far-right psychos go mask off during the conversation and the debate. I did have a good time engaging with chat. I am happy that we got to talk about a lot of crazy topics on top of the main content. But for now, I'm going to pause that content. Hugs and kisses. Mwah. You don't have to accept my air kiss if you don't want to. Parasocially love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early. Have a great one. Bye for now.